The time is 5:30 p.m. The date today is December 16, 2013. This is the meeting of the Paris City Council, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. As usual, we will start with the invocation, which is to be done by Reverend Slaughter today, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Dr. Grossnickel. If I can ask everyone to please stand.
And bow our heads, please. Father God, we come this evening, Lord God, and before you, thanking you, first of all, Lord God, for your grace and mercy that has been with us yet another day. Lord God, I come asking you and thanking you, Lord God, for a year that has gone by, that you have been in the presence of our leaders of this council, leaders in our city and our county government. Lord God, we pray that as we come to the close of this year, the close of another season, Lord God, that you would continue to be with them as they stand for the right and not the wrong, but the just and not the unjust in our community. Lord God, we pray that as we go into a new season, a new year, that we will go into that year with an open mind and good heart, pure heart, and with clean hands, that we might, you might bless us, that we might be able to serve our community better than we did in 2013. Lord God, we ask that you be here in the midst of this meeting tonight. You bless each and every council member, the mayor, all the way down. And Lord God, that everything that might come before this meeting, Lord God, would be done decent and order with an open mind, and everything would be done according to your will. Lord God, we ask it in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. The Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. The Citizens Forum is now open. If you want to address, please come forward, state your name, and write your name and address for the record.
My name is Carol Huffnagel, 720 Bunker Street, and I'll fill this in when I'm finished speaking. Mayor Hashmi and the council, first of all, I would like to thank you for your attempts at being good stewards of our tax money. I have an issue about the permits that are required for the removal of trees. I personally don't know of anyone that would deliberately cut down a historical tree or a tree for whatever reason, unless there was a problem that demanded it for expansion or disease or whatever. I think if an individual works, acquires property, pays for that property, and pays taxes on that property, I consider that private property. Now, I might be wrong on this, and maybe the city manager or one of you can tell me. No, you can't speak after this, I'm sorry. But I would like to know. I think that this permit requirement was proposed and enacted in the 80s sometime, and I might be wrong on that. But who is our city to come in and require people to pay a permit to cut down one of their trees if it's a 60-inch circumference or whatever that requirement is? I don't think it's right. I think if we are entrepreneurs and own private property, we should have some say-so about that. And like I said, I do not think that the tree removal is abused by very many people. And I just have a resentment for the city to come in and tell people what they can do or cannot do on their private property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Huffnagel. Mr. Godwin, maybe we could put it as an agenda item at
I would like that very much.
and address this issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We can't respond to this, but I think it needs to be clarified in that this thing which was brought up recently was meant for only trees which were not broken, obviously. For broken trees, there was no permit required, correct?
Right. Well, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. But we'll discuss it whenever we put it on the agenda. Anyone else wanting to address the council? If there's nobody else, the Citizens Forum is now closed. I have a little announcement to make and then we'll proceed further. On behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Paris, I want to recognize the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Last Saturday, 239 church members, some traveling over 100 miles to come to Paris to assist the city with cleanup after the ice storm. These wonderful volunteers covered over 10 miles of city streets and cleaned up 166 residences, which saved the city approximately $20,000. On behalf of the City Council and the residents of the city, I would like to present the certificate of appreciation to the church, and I think Mr. Bundy is here to accept it, so I'd please ask him to come forward.
We are willing to bring another group to volunteer in January if there is a need. We simply want to be able to serve, and all of those volunteers felt when they left that they had accomplished something for good for individuals, and it was a wonderful experience for them. It gave us an opportunity for our teenage youth to learn to serve, and it was a great opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to serve, and we're willing to serve again if there's a need. Thank you.
Thank you again. We next move to the consent agenda. Does any of the council members have any questions on the consent agenda? Mr. Frierson? Dr. Grossnickel? No. Ms. Lancaster, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Wright?
No.
Can I have a motion on this item, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, the motion carries. We next move to the regular agenda. Ms. Drake will be a few minutes late today, so I was thinking of moving some.
I would like to make a motion to move item 17, item 20, and item 24 up in the agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. So we'll start with 15 and then go to 17, 20, and 24. So let's take item 15. Discuss, conduct a public hearing and act on ordinance considering the petition of Michael and Stephanie Hall for a change in zoning to rezone lots 5 and part of 3 of City Block 154 located in the 600 to 1000 block of West Washington Street from a heavy industrial district H1 to light industrial L1 and on part of lot 3 and 4 City Block 154 located in the 600 to 1000 block of West Washington Street from heavy industrial to one family dwelling district number 2. Mr. Efrasi, will you explain?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The applicants are proposing at this point to build one single-family home on the property. The commission and the staff had recommended approval. The commission endorsed that, and they supported this zoning request. Essentially, the applicants are conforming to the future land use plan. They're just reconfiguring the property, but they're in conformance with that. The future land use plan recommended light industrial uses, and the applicant is going to change the zoning. He was recommending changing the zoning to do that. The staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission supported that in large measure because we felt, and the Plan Commission agreed, that the heavy industrial district, as currently is the existing zoning, is too intensive for the residential uses that are in close proximity. The future land use plan, as we stated in our memo, indicates light industrial, and the applicants are wishing to make that proposal. We recommend approval of this zoning request. We think it's a positive contribution to the city. Pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Frierson?
No questions from me.
Dr. Gross-Nickel?
I have nothing.
Ms. Lancaster?
No questions.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions.
Mr. Wright?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Efrasi.
Thank you, sir.
I declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone wishing to speak in support of this item, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. If there's no one wanting to speak in favor, if there's anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. If there's no one wanting to speak against, the public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion on this item?
Make a motion we approve the zoning change as stated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. Motion carries. Item number 17, 20, and 24 are the ones that we moved up. So item number 17, consideration of an action regarding approval of a checklist for an environmental inventory and evaluation. Mr. Efrasi.
Thank you very much. As we indicated to you, man-made and environmental conservation enhancement has been a very important part of city planning for many decades. We prepared this checklist and had several discussions with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Commission recognized that there was important information contained in this checklist. They recommended, however, that it not be formalized in an ordinance, but rather served as a checklist for staff and representatives of the development community, and we're certainly comfortable with that. It's our intention to use the checklist for all future developments in the city of Paris. Using this checklist, we believe, can aid in expediting development proposals, because we would invite the representatives of the development community to use this list early on in the development process. Also, early on, recognizing either man-made or natural environmental constraints can be included actually in physical design. That could aid in aesthetic advantages and market increase as well. Further, by addressing whatever information is available, we would meet state, local, and federal legal requirements. For example, floodplain and others that you're aware of as well that do require legal or statutory recognition. This would also add to our responsibility for being coordinators of these various components, and we believe that it's an important contribution to physical development component. I also want to publicly thank my colleague, Sean Napier. He worked with me on preparing this checklist. Be pleased to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Efrasi, I have a couple of questions. The first question that I have, how many other cities have this?
This is the most...
I'm sorry, you've put a map of Texas
well
in this.
What we've done was include the checklist, but what Mr. Napier and I did was also include specific components that relate to this county or the city, floodplain, also certain species that are protected federally, and that's what those graphics are for. They're just for reference. We're asking that if you approve the checklist, as these attachments continue to evolve, we would add to them as well. That was the purpose of this. So you could identify, for example, our county on the whole state of Texas map. That's the only reason, was sort of an identification.
Okay. But there are not things in it, I mean, from what I read, there are things in it which are not necessarily part of endangered species, et cetera, as you're saying. There's
There's several other things as well. There's floodplain, there's...
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, sir.
And so what I'm asking you is, do other cities have you worked in other cities where they had this checklist? If they did, what were the advantages and what were the downsides to this?
Okay. The answer is yes. I've worked in other cities that have a checklist. As far as Mr. Napier and I are concerned, we think this is the most comprehensive one that we have seen. What I have personally seen in other cities across the country is much of this information in different documents, and also reviewed at different times. What we attempted to do was consolidate that so that the representatives of the development community and the staff, when we sit down and begin to evaluate a project, we can see all these at one time.
Okay. And so for a person who wants to come here, it does not increase their paperwork. This is for you to do it just to make it more convenient.
Absolutely. It won't necessarily increase their paperwork, Mayor, because many of those elements along the line, they're going to have to meet anyway. So the sooner they know about it, the quicker they can respond. It's less time, less costly, and if there's legal requirements as well as technical requirements, they can begin to accommodate that into their plans early on, instead of having to spend $10,000 or $30,000 later on changing these plans.
Okay. Mr. Wright.
Not any questions at this time.
Mr. Jenkins.
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster.
No questions.
Dr. Grossnickel.
No questions.
Mr. Frierson.
No questions for me.
Ms. Drake, you came in time for this, right? You heard it.
No, I did not, so I'm gonna just sort of
Okay.
ask, but I don't think I had any from just what I had studied over the weekend.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
I want to know if the council wants to proceed with what Mr. Frassi suggested. Personally, I've reviewed it and I don't find anything wrong with it. I think it's helpful, actually. I just wanted to be sure that it was not going to increase some paperwork, and if that's not going to what it's going to do, then I'm fine with it. Does the council want to proceed? Do I have a motion to approve this item?
Make a motion to approve the checklist for the environment and inventory and database.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Ms. Drake, you did not vote on it? So it should be,
No, I said I am sorry.
okay, all right.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I did.
Thank you. Item number 20 is award a bid to the lowest responsible bidder for construction of Phase T2 of the TWDB Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan for water line replacement. Mr. Napier.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Justice passing out the bid tab and a new memo that just kind of lists out. We did open bids on December 12th. In this room, we received 2 bids, one from B. Bray Construction, the other from McInnes Brothers. McInnes Brothers is currently the contractor doing Phase 1. However, as you'll see in your documents, there was a considerable difference in the bids, almost $400,000. And so based on that, we do recommend awarding the bid to the low bidder, B. Bray Construction, in the amount of $707,535.50. After Phase 1 is over, we estimate we're going to have about $850,000 remaining in that fund. So we will probably end up adding some of the alternates back in. Not sure at this point which one. It'll probably depend on price-wise what we can do with the money. But that is our recommendation as is. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Wright?
No questions.
Mr. Jenkins?
No, sir.
Ms. Lancaster?
No questions.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No
Mr.
questions.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions.
And Ms. Drake?
No questions.
I have no questions. Just 1 second. And I'll take a motion on this item.
I make a motion that we award the bid to B-Bray Construction for Phase 2 of the project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Moving on to the next item, which is item number 24. Discuss and act on a resolution requesting our United States senators to forward to President Obama a bipartisan slate of qualified judicial nominees to fill the vacant federal judge position in United States District Court for the Eastern District of Texas, Sherman Division, with a preference for a candidate residing in either Lamar County or Grayson County, Texas. Mr. McAleer.
Mayor and City Council, we were requested by the Lamar County Bar Association to bring forward a resolution supporting the Lamar County Bar Association and Grayson County Bar Association's request to the U.S. Senate to bring forward a qualified list of potential nominees to fill the vacant federal district judge position sitting in Sherman, Texas. It's for the Federal District Court, Eastern District of Texas. The position's been vacant for at least 7 years, and they're trying to get some action, movement on this in Washington. Asking for your support.
I have a question. Why does Grayson County recommend they be from Grayson County and we recommend they be from Lamar or Grayson? I just happened to notice that discrepancy.
I think originally, yeah, the Grayson County Bar Association is kind of the one pushing this over in Sherman. They're the one leading the charge, and they initially just wanted their slate, or residents of their county considered, and the local Lamar County asked for them to consider Lamar County applicants as well, qualified nominees, that is.
Mr. Jenkins, any questions?
No question.
Ms. Lancaster?
No questions.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No question.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions from
Ms.
me.
Drake?
No.
Since you, Mr. Wright has directed it that way, personally, I'd favor Lamar County.
We all
We
would.
all do.
So if I'm not making a motion, but if I would favor a motion, it would be to favor Lamar County rather than Lamar and Grayson. But I'd go along with whatever the council wants to do. So if anyone wants to make a motion on this.
Make a motion, we approve the resolution as requested.
With Lamar and Grayson?
That's apparently good enough for our local bar association, so.
Okay. And anyone wants to second it?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Mr. Wright, you're in favor of it, right?
Yes,
Okay. Just wanted the clarification.
but I'd rather have them from Lamar County.
Okay. Now, before we go to the item number 16 will be the next item, right? Okay, so before we go to this item number 16, I have a little thing to say. Members of the council, I will start the next item by a quotation from Lord Tennyson. A little different way of starting this, but he said, "I dipped into the future far as human eye could see, saw the vision of the world and all the wonders that would be." Ladies and gentlemen, what we are presenting today is a lot of hard work led by our city planner. I still remember the day when we sat on this seat and there were arguments about hiring and use of a city planner, and I'm happy to say that the council went along, we hired a city planner, and what he has done today is an outstanding job and deserves a commendation not just from the council but from each and every resident of the city of Paris. For what he has brought forward really is a giant leap into the future of the vision of what the council and the city of Paris has. President Kennedy once said, "History is a relentless master. It has no present, only the past rushing into the future. To try to hold fast is to be swept aside." Respected council members, I would strongly urge you to support this plan of the Lake Crook Planned and Zoning Development District so that the process can move forward. I know Mr. Efrasi would like to talk in detail and go page by page on this. However, we will save him that agony. Now, since he has done a lot of hard work, and I think it is really, for this council, it is probably the second or the third biggest project after our bond election and airport development project, and this is the Lake Crook development project. I do think it deserves careful attention. So what I would do is, I will go to item number 16 and go page through page as fast as we possibly can and spare Mr. Efrasi the work. But at the end of what we have, once we have gone through the pages, you're more than welcome to come and address. Okay. All right. It really is an absolutely phenomenal and beautiful job. As we start discussion on this, I want to say one other thing, and whether it's the Rifle Club or whether it's the Archers for Christ, I want to make sure that we clearly emphasize what we had promised them before, that they'll be part of all of these development projects, so they should rest assured in peace that nothing is being taken away from anyone. So with that said, let's come on to page number 73, and I'll ask the council to relatively quickly go through each of those pages and see if anyone has any questions on it. Page 75 is where it starts. I'll just read the introduction of that and then we can go over it. The purpose of LCPDD is to establish a unified plan development comprised of several subzones, each of which is compatible with their adjacent subzones and therefore with the overall LCPDD. The primary zoning, planning and design development criteria are to establish, where feasible, orientation of land use and function towards Lake Crook. The LCPDD is comprised of 3,077.4 total acres, of which 1,702.2 acres are owned by the City of Paris. Subzones 10, 626.6 acres, and 11,784.6 acres are not owned by the city. One of the advantages of the LCPDD is that each of the subzones that comprises the overall LCPDD was evaluated, planned, and recommended for land use and zoning and development at the same time and with the same City of Paris staff. Instead of considering zoning recommendations incrementally and over several months or even years, the LCPDD proposal as undertaken therefore enhances the overall land use, design and development continuity, compatibilities and cohesiveness and opportunities for the entire district. The goals are written there. I'm sure you have all read those. We'll go to page 76. It is designed. I'll go over the subzones. One, and Mr. Efrasi, if I make any mistakes, please correct me. Subzone 1 is the resort area, which is 337.3 acres. Subzone 2 is government zoning district, which is 138.3. Subzone 3, lake frontage, single family residential lot zoning district, minimum 1 acres in size. Total is 148.4 acres. Subzone 4A, lakeside retail subzone, 79.7 acres. Subzone 4B, lakeside multifamily subzones, which is 23.7 acres. Subzone 4C, multifamily district, 67.9 acres. Subzone 4D, residential neighborhood, retail subdivisions, 15.5 acres. Subzone 5, lakefront oriented single family residential district at 1 acre minimum lot size, and it's 124.2 acres. Subzone 6, lakefront oriented single family residential zoning district at minimum size of 20,000 square feet, 118 acres. And subzone 7, recreational zoning district, 186.1 acres. Subzone 8, passive recreation environmental resources areas, which are 252.3 acres. Subzone 9, passive recreation environmental resource area, 210. acres, and subzone 10 is 626 acres, and 11 746 acres, both of which are subzones are designated as single-family detached homes, minimum 1 acre size. Mr. Efrasi, if I can ask you 2 questions on this. First of all, yes, please. Subzones 8, which is the passive recreation area and environmental resource area, can you just explain that briefly?
Yes, sir. We took the liberty of very briefly indicating the difference between active and passive recreational uses. Essentially, we're indicating in the first recreational subzone that is impacted by floodplain, but there's more opportunity for more active recreational uses. That is something that can be structured with certain kinds of fields. There may be certain limited structures to support those kinds of activities. Oftentimes they're ball fields, they're formalized fields where you can have more concentrated and organized sports. That is what we're suggesting, even though there's a floodplain there. The next one is a passive recreational use. Those are uses that are more informal, do not require more impaction on the land. In other words, there would be hiking and biking, jogging trail, using the natural environment for recreational uses. That's why we put those brief districts there. And in both cases where they're impacted by floodplain, the passive recreational area has much more floodplain on it. But we wanted to have some kind of development opportunity, and we thought that recreational uses would be appropriate, and also they can link into a new master park plan.
Any of the council members have any questions so far? No. Okay. Continuing on, page, I think, 82 through 80. Eight are the basic requirements, procedures for review of concept plans and site plans. It has the application process, very, very detailed, very thorough, and great job by you.
Thank you.
So, very nice. I do have one question which I did not get an answer on reading this, or maybe I missed it. There is no time limitation written as to if somebody acquires this area. There is no, I mean, the purpose is not to have them sit on this property and not develop. That is not written anywhere. That what is the requirement, that at what point do they get penalized for holding on to the property and not developing it?
That's a good point we were going to bring up at a certain time. We can talk about that right now. This is a planned development zoning district, and what is not unusual, there's 2 components here. And by the way, if I may, part 1 will just indicate all of the subzones, so any developer picking this up will understand this is not one zone. This is part of an entire program. This is about, excuse me, about 1/8 the size of the whole incorporated area of Paris. But if you wish, and this is not uncommon, we could have put a time frame, and Mr. Godwin and I have done that before in other cities, and I have as well. On the concept plan, if you wish, we could put a time frame. What is typically the case on planned developments before the economic downturn was generally 2 to 3 years. But what we discovered with the economic downturn, and this is true generally across the country, what we can do, we can put in here, it's perfectly legal, other communities do it. When you have a concept plan that after a certain period of time, it becomes null and void unless they turn some dirt, unless they do some kind of an action. Now, I happen to think 3 years now is a little bit short. Given the national, international economic situation, I'm not uncomfortable at 5 years. Now, what we didn't have in other communities, you go to the more formalized, specific, more expensive plan, which is the site plan, and the other communities, they don't do that. I think it's a mistake. I think that the site plan, after a certain period of time, both of these should have a time frame. And worst case scenario, they come before you, and if you're comfortable with it, we have a public hearing, and you approve it again, or there may be some modifications. So we can put this in here, that's perfectly fine.
Mr. Frassi, I know you recommended 5 years, but my question to you on this is, supposing a big development comes into the recreation area, obviously the price of property will suddenly change in that area.
That's
And
right.
At that point, do you not feel that 5 years is too long?
What we can do, that's an interesting point, I was going to bring that up another time. What we can do on each of the subzones, and I think it's perfectly legal, didn't have a chance to talk to the attorney, but what we could do based on the different land use characteristics of the 14 subzones, we can put a different time frame for the, for each of those. You're right, a passive and active recreational area, you know, has a different land use characteristic than a resort area or a commercial area.
Mr. Godwin? 3 years seems better than 5, but what is your suggestion?
Well, I'm always in favor of pushing developers. You know, the highest quality developer in the world is a great person to team up with, but ultimately they're in business to make a profit. And so I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I think, I don't like to not agree with Alan because he's the expert on this, but I think 3 years is fine. I mean, I think that's not, I guess, the best practices in the planning world, but I think this is a unique situation too, so.
I have no problem with that. I want to make that clear. That's what it used to be before across the country. For the last 35 years, 3 years has been sort of a standard, and I'm totally comfortable with that.
Ms. Drake, any questions so far?
No, not so far. That was one of the questions I had written down.
Mr. Patterson?
No, I don't have any questions.
Dr. Grossnickel?
I don't have any questions pertaining to that.
Ms. Lancaster?
Not at this
Mr.
time.
Jenkins?
No questions.
Mr. Wright?
No.
Okay. So moving forward, now coming to page number 90, you've written description of various parking standards. Are these parking standards different from what exists in the city of Paris right now?
They may be. They may very well be. In some
Okay.
cases, I think they are.
Okay, and if that is the case, why two standards?
One of the reasons is the staff intends to update the zoning ordinance, frankly. Number two, we think these are more modern approaches. And there's also a statement in there, and I presume that you read that. It goes something like this. If a developer believes that they can create appropriate parking for their land use, they come to the staff and say, look, this is our experience on this development, or they bring us other parking standards that are recognized, international parking engineering standards, and we will look at that, because I think most civil engineers that deal with parking and city planners think that the United States is overparked at large measure. I'm not talking about Christmas or New Year's or special Thanksgiving thing, but a lot of the country's overparked. So we think these standards are more modern.
Okay. My next question is on item E, which is landscape requirements, and you've written down prepared by a landscape architect licensed to practice in state of Texas.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you apply that to the individual home sites, is that going to apply to individual home sites? That supposing I decide to buy a property there, I'll have to get a landscape architect to do it?
Not necessarily. And this makes reference in large measure to commercial uses. Mainly when we deal with single-family residential developments, typically civil engineers prepare those and they would meet the landscape requirements. We're talking about large-scale commercial and industrial uses where there's going to be substantial planting.
Okay.
Now, let me add a footnote if I may. In a larger subdivision, we would recommend that a landscape architect be used for the entryways and to deal with environmental components. My experience is that landscape architects do a superb job in terms of consolidating natural resources and creating a very attractive development regardless of the land uses.
Maybe we could clarify that then, because if you just read the whole thing, it looks like that is required for everyone, and I just feel that if you do it on individual properties, it becomes, you kind of want to resent that thing that now I'm going to be asked to get a landscape architect.
And if I can just interject too, to clarify, and we need to probably put something here, because again, if you're not a planner or been in the business, I know exactly what you mean. the intention is that it would include, it says there, all zones. And the intention is it would be done in residential zones. But the expectation is this type of development, a single developer would come in and he or she or they would build a large area. And you would want that whole thing landscaped by a single person, the person that's putting it together.
Okay.
And this would not cover individual homes.
Okay.
Like if you bought a house in that subdivision and you wanted to swap out the trees or the landscape, that would absolutely be your business. In fact, I don't think we even have a constitutional right to do that.
Okay.
So we can just clarify that. But
Yeah.
so just to be clear, it does cover residential areas, but as a whole, not individual lots.
Okay. The other question that I had was on the individual family, on page 97 and 98, where individual properties are described. There is some place where I've read that the setback will be 8 feet.
Just a second, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. You say 98, sir?
I think it was on 98.
Yes, sir. I got it.
Do you not feel that on a major development like this, where you want to make it a very, something that we are all very proud of, the homes wouldn't they be too close with an 8-foot setback?
Well, we could modify those. Those are,
Number 5 on C.
Yeah, number 5 on, C, on page 98.
Which paragraph are you on, sir?
It's item number C, 5, page 98.
Okay. Okay, those.
Go ahead.
Those are multiple family dwellings. They're typically closer than single family because of the density requirements.
Yeah, this is, part 3 now is just the resort part.
Okay.
So the single-family houses, they will have their own set of criteria that might be 20 feet or 100 feet, depending on how big the lots are supposed to be. So
Okay.
this is just within the resort area, not for the whole.
Not for the whole,
4,000 acres,
okay,
right.
all right.
Not that you
And-
can't make that bigger, but this is
Yeah.
not for the whole place. That each one will have its own criteria.
Mayor, Part 3 is specifically for Zone 1. Part 1 embraces all 14. Part 2 deals with the procedure, concept plan, site plan, certain landscaping, and certain parking requirements for all 14 subzones. When we go into 3, and Part 3 and Part 5, that's just for the resort area.
Okay.
And Part 4 is just kind of a reminder of other
Okay.
things to do.
Any of the council members have any comments? Okay. Moving on, coming to page number. Yes, page number 112 through 114 through 116.
112?
112,
Yes.
113, 14, 15 and 16.
Yes, sir.
These boat slips that you have and how deep they need to be, the piling on them, etc. Where did you come up with these standards? Height and depth regulations and side and yard setbacks?
No.
Are these standards, is there some state regulated, or how did we come up? Because they have very, very specific numbers written to them.
Yes, and these are used as guidelines for structural, civil engineers and planners and landscape architects. That's the purpose of this, number 1. Number 2, I and consultants and Mr. Godwin prepared this for Lake Ray Hubbard,
Okay.
take line area. And we're proud to say that the cities in the Dallas area surrounding Lake Ray Hubbard, this was done about 12 years ago, have adopted these standards.
Okay. So they were taken out from somewhere else?
Yes,
Best time
that I
tested?
wrote, yes, with the consultants and was adopted in ordinance form for the city of Rowlett.
Okay. And the last thing, and I may have read it somewhere, but I can't remember completely, so I'll ask you again. The size of the boats that will be allowed on the lake, is there a passenger capacity so that we don't have huge ships floating around? Is there a number written? I thought there was a number, but I'm not sure whether I saw it or not.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff. I try to memorize everything. I think what I made a reference to, and with Mr. Napier and I worked on, was we made a reference to passenger boats not to exceed, I think this is what you may be referring to.
Yes.
100 population, as approved by the United States Coast Guard.
Okay. All right.
We had the same concerns that you did.
Okay. All right. With that said, any of the other council members have any questions?
What is a Lake Belvedere?
A Lake Belvedere, we even have a picture in here, is a little structure appended onto a pier or a lake. It's encompassed like a canopy. Some people like to do that, to go out there, have a drink. Yeah. There's the picture out there. Boathouse adjoining, and people sometimes are out there having drinking a lemonade or something, and so it's like a larger sun covering than you would have just over a boat.
All right. Any other questions from the council? Dr. Grossman.
Well, I have one question just about those, the lots that are currently owned in private owners' hands. With this ordinance, are we basically telling them that you shall, if you do anything to this land, they will be carved up into 1 acre lots? Or, I mean, how much legal force does that have?
Well, several questions there, and those are I think 10, the last 10 and 11, those are under multiple private ownership. We're not there yet. It's not zoned yet. I think it's all still agricultural, almost all of this property, except one small piece. When that does occur, Doctor, yes, that's the zoning that will be in place if it's approved. And from that day forward, or from the date of the inception of the adoption of that ordinance executed, that's whatever is in that district besides single family, those are the only permitted uses that they could put on. Yes, sir, that's correct.
Wouldn't that have to be annexed first?
I'm sorry, sir?
Wouldn't that have to be annexed first?
Yes, but those properties are annexed, I understand.
They are within the city limits.
The only, there is a graphic here, and the only thing that is not annexed shows that red striped area, which is the Campbell's area. That's a spray area. All the properties are annexed. The city owns owns all the properties except 10 to 11. So all the properties are annexed, sir.
And I want to emphasize one other fact over here, that this has gone through planning and zoning, and they have approved it.
We had multiple discussions about each of these components. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
And that, yes, they did recommend approval.
Okay. If there's no further questions? No? Okay. I declare the public hearing open. If there's anyone wishing to speak in support of this item, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. If there's nobody speaking for, if there's anyone speaking against, and if there's nobody wanting to speak against, the public hearing is now closed. I need a motion on this item.
I make a motion that we adopt Zone 1, the resort area of the proposed Lake Crook Plan Development and Zoning District.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No. The motion carries. Item number 18 is, actually Mr. Keaton is sitting here, and I think he's probably waiting. Can I take a motion to move item 19 up?
I make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no one opposed? No. So, item number 19 is discuss and act on a resolution approving an economic development incentive agreement between PEDC and JS Baking LLC. Mr. Gilbert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the time. I want to let you know that the PEDC had a special call meeting today at 3 o'clock, and they unanimously approved the agreement between the PEDC and Skinner. And this is a $1.179 million 5-year incentive agreement with the PEDC. And in exchange for that, Skinner will create 393 new jobs at the Paris facility, and they will invest $25 million over the next 5 years. So that's the basis of the agreement. You all have a copy of it, and there's a council briefing memo but I would suggest that Mr. Keaton should give you all, he's here tonight from Omaha. I think you'd appreciate hearing from him about what Skinner's doing and what their immediate plans are.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, for having me here tonight. You know, it was a year ago, December 20th, that, and if you don't mind, if I take just 1 minute to kind of rehash a little bit of history here. But,
you can come forward.
Excuse me. It was a year ago, December 20th, that we walked into Paris, and there's kind of a story behind this. We had been looking for a facility for nearly 3 years, and and the reason I'm telling you this story is because there's kind of some things that have happened behind the scenes, and I want to share those and the appreciation that we have for the community here. We had visited Philadelphia. We had visited Spartanburg, South Carolina. We had looked at Omaha expansion, had looked at a number of different things, and we were out of capacity in Omaha. And I got a call one day from a used equipment salesman who was going to part out the Paris facility and sell it, and informed me that there was an auction that was going to take place 4 weeks from the date I received that email and that phone call. And I actually looked at the email about 2.5 weeks later and realized that I didn't have a whole lot of time. So we got on a plane and we came down here to Paris, and 5 hours later we found ourselves purchasing a plant. And my vice president of finance was on his honeymoon in Hawaii, and that was kind of a shock to him. But the reason I tell this story is what happened next was a kind of a defining moment in my professional career. Folks came in from the town to visit with us. I was fortunate enough to meet several members within the community who sat there late into the evening and wanted to be a part of Skinner Baking and what we were trying to accomplish. And it's been a crazy year. There's been a lot of acquisitions in the marketplace. It's seen the fall of Hostess and the rebirth, if you will, in a private equity firm. It's seen Sara Lee sold to 3 different companies in our category of what we sell. It's seen Pepperidge Farms and drop out of the bake business. It's some of our competitors are up for sale, and it's really left a void. And what makes this really exciting for us to be here in Paris today is the commitment that the community has given us and the support that we received from the community. I come to work every day, and I used to be our goal was always to be the next Sara Lee. And people kind of laughed about that little Skinner Baking in Omaha, Nebraska, this converted car wash that turned into a bakery. $140 million later, they're not laughing much anymore. In fact, those competitors are asking us for a non-compete. And I will tell you, what makes it exciting is the 1 + 1 = 3 is what we found here in Paris. I come to work every day, and I've redefined our goals as a company. $500 million was our goal. We're going to be a $500 million company. It's no longer a $500 million company. It's now a 1,000-family company. And the people here in Paris have taught me that. I appreciate the support that the community is involved. I mean, when you have a week to close on a plant and your bank of 19 years tells you they're not going to support you in the acquisition because it's in Paris, Texas, not in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and you come down here and you meet with the local bankers and they pull this together, the EDC and the mayor come together to support you in this acquisition. It's overwhelming, to be honest with you. So I have this appreciation and this thankfulness for this community. we're just getting started. I told everybody that we needed 18 to 24 months to get this turned around because we were buying a business. I will quote my bankers, you're buying a business that doesn't have any business. And it seems kind of crazy now, but we've managed to do a lot this year. And like I said, we asked for 18 to 24 months to do this, and we're well on our way. I'm proud to say that we have employed full-time 126 people at the Paris facility as of today. We have plans very early in the beginning of the second quarter next year to take that number up another 168 people. So there's some exciting things that are happening down there. And as you approve or disapprove this proposal tonight, I will tell you two things. Number one, 93 employees 5 years from now would be a failure on our part. And I would also tell you that $25 million investment in that facility would also be a failure on our part. That will not happen. Two things that I would like to say in terms of that. I met with HWH this morning, and I think there's no better place to announce this than right here. We are beginning a 24 to 36 month plan to put in what will be the largest distribution center freezer right here on our site. We're very excited about that. The preliminary process of that is beginning, and we are going to be working with 4 companies from Omaha, and I'll obviously fill those in as we move forward, but 4 prominent companies that they'll be working with there. And I really have to give credit to Governor Perry and what he's accomplished here in this state. It's been really amazing with the port off of Galveston and what's happened with the Panama Canal and the ability to ship internationally. We're very excited about those opportunities and what that entails. I also want to thank. I had no idea coming from Nebraska what opportunities there were in Texas until I got here. Not only is it the people that are involved in the community and the leadership within the city. I can't tell you how much. I have two of my best salesmen have come from Texas now. Gene Stallings, and I can't say enough about him. What an asset he is to our city, and how much he's gotten involved with Skinner Baking and some of our large customers that we're trying to bring back to the Paris plant. He's been instrumental in that process, and I can't thank him enough for that. And then Governor Perry's support and reaching out to those large companies that we're restoring and we're putting back into that plant. It's just been an overwhelming and a tremendous amount of support, and I can't thank everybody enough for that. The last thing I'd like to say is what I'm kind of proud of is we are going to be launching a branded campaign in the state of Texas, and I'm going to pass this out, and I'll let everybody kind of take a look. But if you would. I'm sorry I didn't make enough copies. Hand those around. We've been very fortunate, and I'll kind of share the concept here, and I'll leave this. And I'd really like to see the city of Paris get behind this. But all the grocery stores and not all of them, but the major grocery stores within our state of Texas are going to be carrying the J. Skinner branded product, if you will, and it's really a Texas kind of feel to the product. But what we're taking advantage of here is we're really going to talk about Paris itself, and on the back of all this product is going to tell the history and the of how this happened, and we came to Paris, and I've kind of shared some of that. But it's an exciting time for Paris, and I can't tell you how happy we are to be a part of this community. And as we get started and as we move forward, we're doggone proud to be here. I don't know what else to say it, but thank you all for having us, and I appreciate it. And I'll leave this here if anybody would like to look at it, or we'll go from there. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? No. Thank you, Mr. Keaton.
Thank you.
I'll take a motion on this item. Okay, I'll make a motion on this item. I make a motion to approve this agreement between the Paris Economic Development Council and JS Baking LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Getting back to, let me just take a look what else is left over here to discuss. Okay, item number 18 is discuss and, I'm on in order, right? Okay. Discuss and select an engineering firm to design utilities projects at Coxfield Airport and surrounding areas. Mr. Godwin, I just want to say again one other thing. Lot of work has gone into this project too. These are 3 huge projects for the city: the airport, the Lake Crook, and our infrastructure project. And hopefully there'll be more to come. But I think these 3, I'm very proud of our council for doing all these 3 projects. These things have existed over here for a long time, but they really this is the first time they're really truly being addressed. So with that said, any of the council members have any comments on this before I ask Mr. Napier? Or Mr. Godwin, I'm sorry. No, Mr. Godwin.
Just very quickly, we did receive 7 proposals from engineering firms following a request for qualifications or request for proposals. We have 4 engineering firms that will present to you tonight. We do have them presenting by lots, and as we did last time when you met with some engineers, we had the other ones leave the room so they don't have an advantage going first or last, and sometimes there can be an advantage to that anyway, of course, but we did have them drop by lots, and the first firm to present will be Tignall and Perkins. Tignall was one of those who actually presented to you on the other utility project, and they were in the top 4 as I recall. Well, I know they were because that's why they presented to you. But anyway, we do have Tignall and Perkins. I'll shut up and let them come forward and talk.
Mr. Schmidt, right?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes. Well, Mr. Godwin, thank you for that introduction. Hello, Paris. We're back. This is not the first time we've been here. This has been my challenge as I keep growing my beard. It's actually my Christmas play beard, so. Well, I think our time this time has been, we're trying to really hone in 10 minutes. I know we've got other presentations, so, oh, there we go. I was going to look for that.
So before you start, can I just interrupt you for 1 second?
You bet.
Since it's coming to my mind, didn't we discuss at some point to have individual laptops, or what do you call it, tablets? Did we discuss it at some point?
Not since I've been here.
Okay. We'll put it on the agenda for at some point. Okay. See, because like this time, this is a huge amount of paper that is consumed in it, and if we can go to maybe tablets for all of us, it'll.
As long as we don't have to convert Alan over, he's not really. He's kind of old school when it comes to paper.
We'll type for him. You take a lot of abuse. Okay. Anyway, can we put it on the agenda to discuss next time? Okay, go ahead, please.
You bet. And I've actually seen other cities that we work in that have used tablets. Denison uses tablets for their council meetings. The problem is they lose them or drop them, and then they're broke. So then it becomes an expenditure.
We'll hold the council member responsible.
Make a deposit.
Yeah, a deposit ahead of time. Well, this is our 3rd time here. Last few times we've talked a lot about us. This time we've spent very little time talking about us, more time talking about your projects and some of the things we've learned as we've been preparing for the presentation. I could really stand up here talking for half an hour probably, but I know that we're trying to compress that. Again, our firm, we've been around for 35 years. We're really a full-service engineering firm, really a one-stop shop, serve cities. That's really what we do. Our reputation in the industry, I think, is very strong. Deliver quality product, responsive to our clients, just really focused on providing value for the services that we offer. Just going to jump right into it. As far as the water and sewer projects, again, in our preparation, we want to look at the service areas. Where is this being the outreaches of the service area, the existing area that Paris serves? we started to look at the state permit, the state permittable areas. And what we learned from that is in Lamar County Water Supply District really has the biggest service area. It's 95% of the county. And in the pink area on this exhibit that we prepared, that's really the City of Paris's service area, or CCN. CCN is a fancy word for permit. For the state gives different entities that provide water and sewer service. So what we learned from this is that Paris, a large section of Paris actually is overlapping CCNs. There's competing interests there between Lamar County and the City of Paris. And another thing that we learned that was really interesting is in the city limits itself, not just the pink area, which extends outside of the city, but that there's some challenges associated with that, and that's rare. We don't see a lot of overlapping CCNs, so that's unique to Paris. Again, as we were preparing, we wanted to understand what's the purpose of these projects. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your needs? Initially, again, I'm using a Denison reference because we're working for those folks as well, is we're undertaking a similar project there. Study is associated with development at the airport, development on the airport in Denison. And we initially started to focus in on that, the development needs of the airport. But in our research, again, we learned a couple of months ago, you had some citizens here with a different agenda. They were more interested in water and sewer service as part of an annexation agreement several years back. Mm-hmm. So that seems to be really equally a priority, is to provide those citizen service that there was an expectation that they had. The staff actually provided this exhibit, and you may have seen this exhibit before. This is an exhibit that they had prepared looking at some very preliminary cursory analysis of water and sewer service. How far do we have to extend from existing water and sewer out to the airport? The green dots, and if you haven't seen it before, the green stars really are existing citizens, existing homesteads out in this part of town. The red area is the city limits lines, and the yellow line are Lamar County infrastructure, assets that are already in the ground. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit more. When you look at water projects like this that are serviced to unserviced, just areas that don't have service, you need to figure out what size is the pipe that needs to be there. What are the demands? What are the needs? Look at land use planning, working with the planning department, the airport needs. I think there's an airport master plan that was approved a few years ago. What's the vision? What are those needs going to be short term and long term? And when you're sizing that water, you understand those demands, you use modeling software to really understand and analyze that from the engineering, the technical side. When you don't want to have a big pipe out there with a lot of water that's just sitting there wasting away. If you have water out there that's not circulating, it's not being used, you start losing water quality. And when you lose water quality and you can't meet that chlorine or disinfectant residual, well, you have to flush it. Well, the last thing you want the city to be doing is flushing water. That costs money to produce that water. So understanding that, understanding how to accommodate that request or accommodate that goal, maybe there's parallel lines, maybe there's a smaller line now, and as development occurs, there's opportunities for expanding that. But you look at that water, that amount of water, if you just extended a 12-inch line, about 3.5 miles long is about 100,000 gallons of water. Well, that 100,000 gallons of water, I like to relate it to a good analogy as milk. Whenever you produce milk, that has a shelf life. If you don't use that milk or use that product, over time you're going to lose the effectiveness or the quality of that, and it's eventually waste. So that's very important when you size the line. Once you know what the size of the line is, where's it going to go? This being along this 271 corridor predominantly, the alignment that staff has laid out, that's very logical. That makes a lot of sense. What we see in these types of projects, when you're in state right-of-way, you're really exposed a little bit. If state widens that project and you're inside their right-of-way, you have infrastructure there, it's at the city's dime if that gets relocated, if there's a need to relocate that. What we typically advise and we try to accomplish is getting those lines outside of the right-of-way in easements on private property. That way you're not as exposed there. If the city purchases or the state purchases more right-of-way, well, then that asset really becomes at their dime to relocate. I mentioned briefly about Lamar County. As we're brainstorming, as we're thinking about evaluating this early on, we see that asset there on the ground. We understand that in the past there's been some discussion with Lamar County about potentially acquiring those assets. Well, there would be an opportunity, could be an opportunity there to expedite the project. It takes a lot shorter time to build maybe a mile of water line, the red line that's kind of shown up there, versus 3.5 miles. I don't know if that's really a valid solution to some of this, but I think it's worthy of some additional consideration and thought. It could help with scheduling as well. Just really it could expedite things if there is an opportunity there. Summary on water, Paris is dual CCNs, there's dual certification. Pipe sizing, water quality is really the issue that has to be addressed regardless of who actually looks at this project or finally does this project for you. And then just the alignment, easements versus TxDOT right-of-way, and then evaluation of those Lamar County assets, and if there's opportunity there to maybe obtain some of that. Sewer's a little different. Sewer, you really don't have competing interests. Those customers out there, citizens out there now, predominantly, I'm sure, all on septic. City of Paris has the CCN, the blue area on this exhibit, to service those areas. When you look at sewer, you're really looking at basins. Basins being sewer basin, drainage basins, those areas that gravity into those creeks and channels that are around town. And we knew this about Paris, but there's really distinct boundary. And interestingly enough, in this exhibit, there's the little blue lines are all the creeks and tributaries are all around town, and we really honed in on the county. The loop, see the loop in 82 is east-west, kind of bisects about the middle of the slide. There's a very distinct divide there. North of 82, predominantly all that basin flows into Lake Crook and eventually into the Red River. The treatment plant is actually on that north side, that north basin. On the south side, Cox Airport, this airport area, is on the far reaches of the existing city sewer area. All that flow wants to continue moving south into the Sulphur River basin, or I think it all eventually converges back to the Red River, but immediately to the Sulphur River basin. An interesting point here is that the airport in this service area is approximately 10 miles from the treatment plant. Well, 10 miles, once we capture this flow at the airport and we start conveying it back into the city system, it's got to go through existing lift stations and tie into that existing infrastructure. Well, as part of the analysis here as well, I think it's prudent to just make sure there's not any deficiencies in that system. There's no surprises or there are upgrades that need to happen, and just to understand what happens when we introduce this new flow into the system. We don't want to solve this problem just to create another problem elsewhere in the existing system. Similar slide to the water slide. Again, staff was gracious to provide this to us early on. The yellow lines here, the green stars are existing properties, and the yellow lines here are a little different. These yellow lines actually represent some of those drainage basins. The blue lines are the creek lines. There's existing lift stations noted along the highway there. What you really want to do when you look at a sewer study like this, a sewer project like this, and you really want to minimize the number of lift stations you put in, maximize gravity lines. Lift stations just inherently have maintenance issues. They cost money. You got to run power to them. And we noticed some locations here, but we also just really looked at where some of these streams converge. Again, following these streams, following these gravity systems. The green dot on the left really is at a convergence between the 3 and 4 basin. Actually, those converge some of those existing streams. What's really creative about number 3, I think, is that it could ultimately possibly consolidate an existing lift station. I think it's a southeast lift station that's there about mid-page on the left side. As development occurs there, maybe that lift station comes offline and ties into an existing lift station that we've built. So we just took two into one with some consolidation. Another, on the right-hand side, we put a green dot south of the airport. There's a convergence there of 2 streams, one on the west side of the airport, and then one for a little stream on the south side that would actually service south and east parts of the airport area. Again, those are just part of our evaluation, just looking at just what jumps off the page at us. Similar to water, you have the alignments. You have gravity lines and the force mains that the lift stations need to function. So similar to water, are we in-state right-of-way or are we in private easements? That alignment study also needs to be part of that analysis. And I briefly alluded to this, but lift stations require power. So how do we get power? How does all that fit into the process and the evaluation? On the sewer summary, you really need to maximize that service area. What are those needs? What's going to happen? What's the master land use? What's the master plan? What's going to happen there? Evaluate the impact of the existing system, the existing infrastructure. Are there needs there that need to be addressed as part of this project in the short term or long term? Minimize the number of lift stations. Just really try to be efficient there. And again, the alignment issue. Schedule, we know schedule is important to Paris. It's important in every project. This really simplified our schedule from our original submittal and actually consolidated a few things. We feel like this is a realistic schedule based off our experience and working on these type of projects. I just started in January, starting with surveying and engineering efforts, acquiring data, interviewing Lamar County, visiting with staff, performing this feasibility study on the basin, looking at that, identifying options and solutions there, and including alignment studies. And then I had about a 30-day windows for engineering deliverables. And I think really one of the more important things in critical path on these types of projects where you get into right-of-way, you get into easement acquisition, is negotiations with those property owners. And that process can take time. We can throw more, we have the ability to throw more engineering effort. We can expedite engineering things. But when it comes to negotiation with the property owners and that process, that's critical path. That really typically controls these projects and how quickly you can actually get things done. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
I'll have the first question to Mr. Napier. When we first started talking about this project, you did look at the impact that this will have on the existing system, based also on the fact that all the pipes around the loop are going to be changed. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it was not done without thinking of the impact on the current system.
As a matter of fact, that's one of the major items that we've been discussing with AECom, is looking at the Southeast Lift Station, looking at that entire area and taking that entire thing into account. Not only that lift station in particular, but also the force main and all the gravity lines flowing into it as well as, we've all been hearing about the proposed hospital in the Southeast Loop too, and we have some design flows for that, so we're looking at. And not only that, we're also looking at, as having Alan here, looking at what those zonings are out there in that area. And if those things are built out there, we know it's going to continue to expand. So we're going to take all that into account when designing those lift stations.
And when we discussed this first time around, we discussed it as not just providing service to the homeowners there. One of the reasons why we were thinking of this project ahead of some of the other areas where services are not being provided by the city was the fact that there would be more development at the airport, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that is being accounted into it.
Yes, sir. We are going to take that into account as well.
So when we talk about 6-inch lines or 12-inch lines, it is in conformity to what the airport board thinks will develop at the airport, what Mr. Efrasi thinks of development in the surrounding area, that has been accounted for already.
All that will be taken in consideration into the design of we're trying to tie all this together, and it's going to take multiple people. The firm you select tonight will become a part of that process in having design flows of sewer that flow into what AECom is designing. So all this should be, come into one big oversight, and that's what we're trying to do, is to tie all that together.
And this gravity flow map is not French to us today. You had showed it to us before, and that was accounted for in it.
We knew there were larger problems there, and that's why we have to have lift stations, which we mentioned, or which Chris has mentioned tonight, to get those flows over. Okay. And that is one thing to take into account. A lot of what Chris has mentioned tonight is exactly what will be taken into account.
Okay. And just as a side note, is the criteria for milk wastage and water wastage the same in the same lines?
Well, it's a lot more. Milk is a lot more expensive than water.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wright, any questions?
Would that lift station be required if the hospital didn't perform out there?
Yes, sir, it would be. One of the things we're looking at right now is part of what the hospital is paid for is a study that we kind of directed by Hayter Engineering to do, Mike Tibbetts in particular, is to look at Southeast Lift Station as it currently is, because that's where all this sewer currently flows to. It's kind of our low point in this area. And he has determined that lift station is running 70% of the time in dry weather. So it is currently undersized as is, and we know that. So that's why we're taking it into account into the AECOM study to have that looked at now, before everything else starts coming online.
Yeah, we're not doing that betting on the come of whether a hospital comes or doesn't come.
No, sir. We're going to take them into account, but before we, turn the first shovel out there, we will at least have some hard facts there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
No questions right now.
Ms. Lancaster?
Not this time.
Dr. Grossnickel?
So I have a question of Sean. Can you tell us what what is the existing, the size of the water pipe, and is it owned by the city or is it owned by Lamar County Water that feeds the airport currently?
Up to the red line was the Lamar County.
There you go. The yellow lines are Lamar County's water lines that you see on this map. We do have some of our lines at the airport, but we do have a water meter from Lamar County at that location. And then our blue lines you see on the left side of the page, those are our existing water lines that you see on the left side.
And the red line is what?
Well, that was Tignon.
Doesn't exist.
Okay, the red line doesn't exist.
That was our idea to, if there's a
Okay,
connection,
got it.
potential connection.
So the blue at the Cox Field is ours right now?
Yes, ma'am. Just that small portion you
Yeah.
see there.
Small, but, I mean, there's a meter.
Okay,
I believe
so,
that is a 6 or 8 inch line with fire hydrants on it at Cox Field.
so do we think that water supply that's there now is enough to support expansion at the airport?
What I believe right
For
now
some
with
time.
I'm sure all you guys are aware of what we're looking at with PDC. We're trying to attract like a paint shop, a avionics shop, a upholstery shop, or a mechanic shop, something like that. What we have out there now, I think would support that. The only thing we're really missing is sewer. So it's one of the things I think, water, I think we're better off looking at water, maybe backing up. We definitely want to get water down here to these people right at the loop, just south of the blue area where our pipes are. That would be a big thing, maybe a phase 1, we go ahead and do that. Then we go ahead and acquire easements along that route and try to look at extending water at some point in time, maybe even, like I say, we had a plan from 2008, a proposal from Lamar County to buy those water lines in that area. But that might be another thing we look at as well, is if we need to, then we could upsize it later if we need to with a large developer coming in.
And Lamar County, though, has the CCN over most of this area, right?
Well, actually, here we have overlapping CCNs.
Overlapping.
We have, it's duly certificated.
So it's whoever gets there first, or?
Well, I believe with our contract, it says the city has the first right of refusal for any new customer. If we refuse to serve them, then they automatically go to Lamar County.
Okay.
I believe, is that correct, Kent? That's the way the contract reads?
And how much water do we have to waste now to maintain the quality of the water at the end of that pipeline?
When we pulled the water meter account for Cox Field, it ranged anywhere from, I want to say, 4,000 to 5,000 gallons a month up to 12,000, and even a little bit higher if the crop dusters are out there. We saw a spike in usage, but on average, we're seeing might average about 10,000 gallons a month. So 10,000 versus 100,000, big difference. You want to try to use that water, in a much shorter period of time than that. And, Chris used the analogy of milk. It is kind of good because you do need to take your chlorine residual of that water to make sure it drops below 0. Then you have the possibility of building chloroform, bugs in the water, basically, which is not good for anyone.
Right. Okay. I guess that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
I don't have any questions for TMP right now.
Okay. Ms. Drake?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second firm this evening that'll be presenting is Hewitt Zollers. Hewitt Zollers is a very large firm as well. They did participate in the last RFQ also, although they are not one that presented to you back in October.
They did not present.
Correct. They were not one of the final 4 that you talked to.
Okay.
I think they were actually 5th, if I recall.
Thank you, Sean.
Justin is going to give
That's fine.
John Ho will be your speaker.
Does anyone want to take a few seconds break? Yes? Okay, 2-minute break. Since all the members are here, Mr. Ho, is that who you are?
No, I'm Mr. Wine. Mr. Ho is sitting right behind me here. So.
Look at that, the city manager is giving us wrong information today.
That was the city engineer.
Oh, city engineer, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
City manager was
I've
right.
already run him
As
off.
you run him off. Okay. All right, go ahead, Mr. Wine, you can start.
All right, Mayor, thank you. City Council, City Manager, thank you all this evening for a time to come in front of you all and to expand upon the qualification statement that we submitted to the city. I am Greg Wine, not John Ho, and I'm our principal in charge, and actually I'm over all of the public works, water and wastewater work for Hewitt Zollers throughout the state of Texas. And since I was here today, I took the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mr. Ho and our team of professionals. I think you'll see through our presentation, I only have around 10 minutes, so I have an abbreviated presentation for you. But the whole purpose of it is to demonstrate to you all that we are the best qualified firm in so many ways to advance the design of your project along 271 down to Cox Field for both water and sewer service for the existing residents along that highway, as well as to provide service to the airfield and to promote future both residential and commercial development along that corridor. Hopefully you can follow along on your screens. We are the best choice, and these are the reasons why. Number one, this is not a real technically challenging project. So any firm that will be here tonight can come in front of you. They have the qualifications to do this. And Hewitt Zollers does as well. As a matter of fact, water and wastewater design for public municipalities, very similar to the city of Paris, that's our core business. That's probably what we do best. And so I want you to know that you have the whole asset and resources that Hewitt Zollers have, over 200 professionals here in the area in North Texas that's available to help ensure the success and timely completion of your project. The second bullet, we have very significant local participation on our team. Both Hayter Engineering and Cheney Engineering represent over 110 years of combined experience providing water and wastewater design to the city and the area of Lamar County. And we are making a commitment here tonight that there is some geotechnical work that has to be done by a specialized firm that neither one of any of the three firms, none of us do that service, so we have to contract that out to Fugro. But we're going to minimize that and really identify those locations along the alignment. But after that work is done, the remaining work, primarily the engineering, the surveying, and the inspection, we're going to split 50-50 with Hayter and Cheney, and that's a very significant commitment on our part, but we want to make that because we understand the importance of local firms being involved with your project. I'll cover our technical approach. I'll identify the key areas along the alignment that we will look at and give you insight into that and tell you where we've done that type of work on other projects. Talk about the schedule because I know that's important to you as well. The other thing that Hewitt Zollers brings to the city, and we offer teams like we have today, we enter into a mentor protege program with them. And Hayter and Cheney are perfect firms for such a program, and we work with them. There is really a transfer of knowledge between us and them. It's not just Hewitt Zollers is telling them this is how Hewitt Zollers done. We end up in some mutual exchange on project management techniques, on how to keep projects within schedule and budget, quality assurance, and it gives us opportunity to create strategic partnerships where we can team with them on other future projects, like with a bigger TxDOT job, that these smaller firms may not have an opportunity to compete, but when teaming with us, they would have. Our team has not changed, and I'd like to identify the folks that have joined me here tonight. Principals, we have Reese Hayter from Hayter Engineering, Brandon Cheney Engineering, and we have Lynn Clark with LCA Environmental here in the back. Also joining us, Mike Hibbets, who is going to be one of our lead design engineers on this project, is here. Mike, would you introduce the other members of your team you've brought?
Yes, we have Mike Dunn, another project manager at Hayter Engineering, and we have Kevin Whitley, which is a registered public surveyor, also with us.
Thank you. And last but not least, this is Mr. John Ho, who will be your project manager on this assignment. John's coming off of a couple of assignments on the Dallas Water Utilities where he designed very similar schedule-driven water line projects. So he'll be bringing that experience here as well. Here's the project alignment. I just want to briefly talk about some of the key aspects of it. The water line, which is currently proposed to be a 12-inch, will connect up to an existing water service in the vicinity of Don Drive. Will continue down the 271 corridor, will cross, and we plan on jacking and boring. So we're going to have probably 4 opportunities for trenchless technology, which will help reduce costs and minimize impact to existing infrastructure. First will be vicinity of the old railroad bridge crossing, where the Trail de Paris trail currently crosses. We will continue down on the north side past the intersection of Loop 286. We will jack and bore under 271. We have done this on several projects. We'll probably put steel casing under the right-of-way under TxDOT. We've secured permits for that in the past. We'll get on the south side of 271 for the water line. We'll continue down through at Big Sandy Creek to avoid any impact to jurisdictional wetlands and waters of the U.S. We will jack and bore under that so we don't have any possible impact to our schedule. We will continue the water line down, eventually jacking and boring back under 271 to get access to the airport. As far as any environmental concerns in this area here, once we cross back to the north side of 271, there are some wetlands, ravine wetlands in that area, and we will avoid those so that we don't involve any lengthy permit requirements. The sanitary sewer will eventually discharge at the southeast lift station. And in a moment, I'll talk about some of the key things that particularly Hayter and Cheney bring to our team that's going to help save time and money on this project. We will look at getting sanitary sewer service down the same corridor and probably acquire an easement on the same side of the road that the water line is on, which will help facilitate obtaining the easement as well as the construction of both of those utilities. We will also be looking at strategically locating some lift stations, probably 2 to 3 lift stations along that alignment, and it's important to do that. Number one, we're going to be using a force main, and if you size the force main to carry the future expected flows, it'll probably be larger in diameter than you really need currently. So we'll need to plan on several locations for maintenance crews to be able to both insert and retrieve what they call piggies, which get in and clean out those type of force mains. So it'll facilitate the maintenance of it, so you end up with a maintenance problem that you really want to avoid. Also want to mention some of the things that Hayter brings to it. Number one, first thing, Mike Hibbets has done a lot of work on the southeast lift station. All these flows eventually will be going into that lift station. We may need to look at station need to be expanding over time in order to process these increased flows. That's something Mike's looked at. He brings that experience, so that's going to be savings and time to the city on the project, and we may be able to phase that as well. Some other things, the acquisition of the easements and potentially right-of-way. Both Hayter and Cheney know Lamar County Appraisal District. They know the property owners. They will be able to help facilitate getting those documents, because when you look at the schedule of this, the acquisition of the easements will be that is the critical path to getting this project completed. Some other things that Hayter brings that will be of cost benefit. They know the local contractors that do this type of work, and that will help lower the cost of procuring contractors, and just the fact that they are here local, that will save time and money just being involved with the project. Doesn't increase the cost having sub-consultants. It actually will be a benefit to us. The schedule, our schedule, we have refined it a little bit. We still hold that within 6 months of a notice to proceed, we plan on issuing bid documents. And that's very similar schedule that we had in our RFQ, so I won't expand on that. The Mentor Protege program that I talked about, again, we've done this with several other cities and smaller businesses throughout the state of Texas. There's an exchange of project management skills and talents and techniques. We have some written work directives that we use, and that may be a benefit to help them in developing their companies and making their companies more profitable, being able to grow. It's a real win-win situation. And again, it's not just a one-way street. There's transfer of knowledge in both directions. And I think I found that both firms end up benefiting from that relationship. And the last bullet, that is pretty significant. You know, we've developed some relationships with some small businesses where we've used them on other projects, and they've appreciated that, and we appreciate working with them. So in conclusion, I want to double back. These are the reasons why I feel that you should select Hewitt Zollars as the best choice to design your project. So with that, I'm open for your questions, as is our team.
Thank you, first of all.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming, and thank you for presentation. Obviously, we know Mr. Hayter and his company and Mike, and they're working on some other projects in the city.
Right.
And their work is always appreciated. My question to you is, in your presentation, you've pointed out a lot of things that Hayter is doing. What are you going to do in this? What is your part? You have not mentioned anything of that this is our part, because you talked about contracts, help with Hayter and the other company. What is your contribution to this project?
Looking at the distribution of work, we believe that we're going to be basically end up splitting the civil engineering, the design of, maybe we'll take the northern portion of the water line, and Hayter primarily will do mainly engineering, maybe a little bit of surveying. Probably Cheney will do a lot of the surveying to include the easement documents to acquire the easements and/or right-of-way. So Hewitt Zollars will be doing a portion of the design along with Hayter. In addition, we have the assets that we can mobilize to bring in should any issue occur with any of our consultants or any schedule for that matter. So that's basically, we're going to be doing engineering and managing a project.
Okay. Mr. Wright?
Yeah, how many projects do you have going on currently?
How many projects currently, sir?
Yes.
Hewitt Zollars, we have around 500 people nationwide.
How many like in Texas?
How many in Texas? In Texas, we probably have around 350 employees. So I would say at any one time, we probably, let me just think, we have 6, 7 offices in the state of Texas. I would say each office has probably 80 to 100 projects going on. So we probably currently have over 1,000 projects in Texas that's ongoing right now.
How many people do you have that oversee those various projects?
I would say probably 5 to 10% of our staff manages project. I mean, I'm a senior vice president, but I manage projects as well. And that's one of the things that I think is unique maybe to our firm, is that our senior leadership, we're involved with projects, whether it's by acting as a project manager or actively involved with the quality control. Currently, we're running a utilization rate of around 65%, which would imply that we have around 35% capacity that's available, and we would have no problem whatsoever working with Hayter and Cheney on this project to deliver it in accordance with the schedule that we have shown.
Your workload would allow you to go full force to begin with?
Yes, sir. That's what's designed. Yes, sir.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
Not at this time.
Dr. Grossnickel?
No questions.
Mr. Frierson?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. Drake?
No.
Actually, I have 2 more questions.
Yes, sir.
My first question is to Mr. Hayter. Mr. Hayter, why did you decide to participate with Zoller this time?
We felt like that they were the best firm of the mix that we were contacted with, or that we contacted. We did commit with AECOM last time. I don't believe that AECOM was interested in participating in this project along with the existing CIP project.
And you were aware of some of the others who were going to bid anyway, because, like whatever the Team Neal or whatever the other companies are.
Yes.
You had gone through them, and have you ever felt at that point that they are the ones that you could have participated with too?
We could perhaps have participated with any of these firms.
Okay.
We simply looked at the firms that we talked to and that came to us, and we selected this match.
Okay. And my next question is to you. Out of the cities that you have done work in, how many cities have you had local partners?
I would say a significant number. We've had local partners. Many of the cities that we work in, when you go talk to a small city, and we do a lot of work for small cities, City of Manville, City of Alvin, smaller cities, not the big established cities that have programs that require you to have certain folks on your team. We are always looking to add local participation. We don't really want to come in and do the things that your local firms can do, because that's their bread and butter. But I think what Reese really wanted to say a minute ago is he's already gone through a selection process as to who was the best firm to team with on this project. And he didn't want to come out. I know he didn't want to, but what he wanted to say was that he's already done that, and he selected Hewitt Zollers because of the way we do approach it and work with the local firms, and they're aware of that.
And your percentage participation of local firms in other cities?
Anywhere from 25 to 40%.
Why more this time?
Why more this time? Because I think it's important for a community like this that you do provide for and support local participation.
Why not in other communities? Why didn't you think of that in other communities?
I just think it's important on this project that, and in this case, we have two qualified firms that we are going to split 50-50 once we take care of the special skills that I just felt that was the best approach for making Hewitt Zoller's team the best qualified to do this, and that's why I did it.
And what special skills do you have that Hayter does not have or the other company doesn't have?
We have pretty sophisticated water modeling that will help in terms of determining the size, the pressures. We've already done some preliminary modeling of the water line to make sure that we would not have to put in booster pump stations along the way, so we'd have adequate water pressure 3.2 miles away at the airport when we're putting the water in at 60 PSI. So we already did some preliminary modeling today to do that. So I think our water modeling skills will be of benefit. We have, if you're talking about designing lift stations, you're going to require electrical power. We have electrical engineers on staff that are used to designing electrical control systems for lift stations. We do that all the time. So we have electrical engineers in-house. It's something we don't have to sub out. So that's just another example of something that we bring to the table.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
To the fire chief, I have a question. If the airport becomes a very busy airport at some point in future, have you discussed with Mr. Napier what kind of needs do you have for a fire station at the airport, and what kind of lines do you need there?
I have not. I've been involved with a large municipal airport in the city of Addison, and
we are hoping to have it something like that, obviously.
If that becomes a reality, or we start seeing a trend towards that point, we will have to put probably some kind of a aircraft crash rescue vehicle on the airport with a small substation. But that would be probably years down the line.
Do they require some special water lines or things like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. Anybody has any questions?
I have a question for Mr. Hayter. Without, don't take this in the wrong way. I just want to know that I know your firm has done great work and continues to do great work, but do you think your firm will be stressed by participating in two projects in the same time frame? Is it going to be, do you have enough personnel to do your share of both of these rather big jobs?
I believe that we do, Dr. Grossnickel. We committed, we have 5 design teams available in our firm, and we committed 2 of those in our work on the capital improvements project. We have a 3rd team, which is Mr. Tibbetts and his group, which are not committed to that capital improvements project at this time, and so that would be the personnel that we intend to employ on this project.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Anyone has any other question? Mr. Hayter, I hope you don't take it wrong. I have another question. Just kidding. Thank you very much.
Thank you all, and we look forward to your support. Thank you again.
All right. Matt, you've missed today's game, if there was one.
I'd already written it off.
Okay, good. Did we order pizza for tonight?
No, that was Janice's job.
Oh. Things are just falling apart under the new city manager. Even the city clerk is not under control.
Our third firm, who hopefully brought some food, is Neil Schaefer. Neil Schaefer and Cheatham. And I will not ask Sean to tell you the name of the person that's going to present because he'll probably come out.
I got a 50-50 shot on this.
50-50 shot.
Which firm?
Bruce or Derek?
Just give us 1 second, please. They were in the last group too on the CIP.
Neil Schaefer was not one of the ones that you heard from last time.
Okay, now isn't this
Mr. Grantham may look familiar to you.
Oh, okay.
He actually has done a
Thank
couple
you.
of street projects in Paris in the past, and this is a joint proposal from 2 firms.
Okay, is this, were they the ones that have somebody stationed in Commerce?
No, that's AECom. That's Ray Gooten from AECom.
That's A?
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't there another person who was in Sulphur Springs or somewhere, stationed in Sulphur Springs? Used to work in public works before?
Sulphur Springs does sound familiar, but I can't think who it was.
Okay.
It's not one of these.
But anyway, this firm has not presented
Correct.
before.
That's new to you.
All right, you can introduce
Okay.
yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to present our firm this evening.
Your name?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you, but your
Okay.
name?
I'm sorry, Derek Cheatham.
Okay.
I'm the Vice President of the firm and North Texas Area Manager.
Okay.
I'm with Neil Shaver, and our proposed team, I'll be serving as a project manager for the wastewater side of our team. Bruce Grantham's also with me this evening. He's the principal owner of Grantham and Associates, and he'll be help assisting me with this presentation. And in our proposed structure, he'll be serving as a project manager for the water portion of the improvements. Just a little firm background on our Neil Schaefer. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary. The firm was started in 1983. We currently have 29 offices in 9 states throughout the Southeast. We have 3 in North Texas, Dallas, Arlington, and Fort Worth. Cheatham and Associates was I'll touch on this a little bit more in a few minutes, but we merged with Neil Schaefer about 2 years ago. So I'll get to that here in a second. We roughly have 400 employees through the 9 states. Next slide is the a little bit of information on the merger I just mentioned. In 2011, the firm I obviously started out with, Cheatham and Associates, was based in Arlington. We had about 15 employees. We're a municipal civil engineering firm, did a lot of water, wastewater work. We also have a surveying group out of that office. And we worked through about a year-long due diligence process with Neil Schaefer and decided it made a lot of sense. It was a good fit for us. And so we ended up merging with them in October of 2011. Quickly, here's the proposed water design team. Like I said, Bruce Grantham would be the project manager of the water side of our overall team. He also has Chris Robinson, Molly Pearson, and Kent Mobley out of his office. His office is in Garland. On the wastewater side, again, I would handle the project management for the wastewater project. We also have Angel Sanchez, Derek Tucker, and Phil Walters, which are all part of the Neil Schaefer group. It's part of that team. This is the, also is in the statement of qualifications. It's just the overall structure of the team. Again, it shows the water design services, wastewater design services, the project managers, and we have our principal in charge, Nelson Lucis, which is the office, the area manager. Sorry. You can see on this slide we're a multidisciplinary firm. We provide many services. I'm not going to go through all the services for the sake of time, but I did want to mention we do have an aviation and engineering and planning group. We provide aviation services. Previously, we've done those in Texas. We've also done them in Alabama, South Carolina, and also Mississippi. So if we need to bring that specialty, to this project, I know this isn't an airport job, but it's serving the airport. If we needed to talk to the airport about planning or any type of engineering services that we could assist them with, we do have those resources available. We also have extensive experience with TxDOT permitting and FAA permitting through our previous projects, and also easement document preparations. Quickly, this is just a slide of some of our current clients that we're serving in the North Texas area. It also has a few Houston clients in here. Overall, showing our Texas client, current clients in Texas. You may recognize some of those logos. At this time, I'll turn it over to Bruce. He'll cover the project approach, and this will be applied to both. His approach will be applied to both the water and wastewater design processes.
Thanks, Derek. I'd like to walk you through four basic phases of the project as we see it. And in the first phase in particular, Derek and I personally and the senior staff from both our companies will be involved. And that phase is analysis and planning. And we've had an opportunity on projects for cities, including water and wastewater projects, to make a real difference in the outcome of the project in this phase of a job. An example would be we were hired to do a $3 million lift station for the city of Rowlett. And although it wasn't in the scope, we evaluated gravity alternatives and found one that was a quarter of the cost of the lift station that we'd been hired to design. That was not including the savings in operation and maintenance on that lift station over the life of it. And we reduced the fee on the project due to the reduction in the scope of the gravity line versus the lift station. So I think this is where we would see an opportunity to use what would be the creative side of analytical engineers to look at ways to maximize the value of the project for you and your financial resources on the project. So, and the goal would be to leave no stone unturned in that process. So included in that would be looking at your short and long-term goals for the project. An example of that would be your funding, when is it available, and when is the best time to use it. And also would be to look at the existing and ultimate development along the project corridor, because the goal there would be to design something, if there is an initial phase of the project, that would be also used in your ultimate water and wastewater service for this project corridor that includes the airport. So just in looking at this specific project, some of the challenges that we would see and that we've seen before, where you have a long service corridor, this would be 3+ miles to go from your existing lift station to the airport, and a similar length for the water main. We've seen on recent project, this was again a City of Rowlett project, where you had that length of line. In this particular basin, there would be low initial flows, given the limited development that's along this corridor. So that can result in low velocities over the length of the line and a long retention time with the sewer flow, and that can cause solids to deposit out along the line because of the low velocities. That can cause the line to plug, which we've seen, or in the case of this other project for Rowlett, it can create, there's air pockets in the line, and hydrogen sulfide gas can collect in those pockets, and it can get transported down to the existing lift station downstream that you're tying onto. In this other case, over time, that hydrogen sulfide ate away at the walls of that existing lift station, and the collapsed concrete got in the impellers of the pumps, and we were involved in an emergency project on that lift station that cost the city well over $1 million. So this, on the sewer side of it, as part of the challenges of this project, would be looking at avoiding solids dropping out along the length of the line, keeping the velocities up, avoiding corrosion, not only in the system, the line system, but also at the downstream lift station, and also preventing odor problems that can go along with slow-moving sewer over a long length of pipeline. On the water side, where you have a dead-end water line that's 3 miles long, we've seen situations where you will have a lack of circulation at the end of the line. And in addition to that, you can have water quality issues, and then the lack of an emergency backup. If that's a dead-end line that's hanging out there, and there's a break somewhere along that line, and there is an emergency need to fight a fire, let's say at the airport, then that's a situation that we don't want to see you get caught out having to deal with. So let's see next. So as far as just some of the alternatives, potential alternatives to deal with the issues on this specific project that we might consider on the project, there is Lamar County, as you know, has Lamar County Water Supply has a system out there. It would be, we've seen cities tie on to another water system with a meter, which you already have monitoring the flow that's going into the airport. So you could tie on the airport side of that meter, maintain the Lamar County line as an emergency backup if you had a break in your long line. Or you could periodically open the valve, track the flow through that meter, and allow circulation backwards and forwards between your new line and the existing Lamar County line, which would help water quality for both systems out at the end of it there. Maybe a little far-fetched in terms of creative ideas would be for the city to even look at taking over part of Lamar County system. We would price out the new line to service this watershed and the airport, and it's conceivable that that the Lamar County line could fit in a portion of that city line and add a significant amount of flow into it, which would help with your circulation issues. This may be something the city's evaluated in the past, and in that case it may have already been discounted, but it is an alternative that could be looked at. As far as the next phase of the project, it would be the alignment study as surveying of the project. Once we've determined exactly what size lines need to be designed both for existing and ultimate development, then we would try to determine the best place to put the line. An example of a project, a water project that we did recently was a Garland project where We avoided some major intersections along the corridor where there were a lot of franchise utilities in those intersections, and we found an alternate route through a city park where we avoided all the franchise utility conflicts. So I think during this phase, the alignment study phase, we would look to find the best corridor, not only for the construction, but also for your future maintenance of your city crews to get to that line and take care of it. We would also look during this alignment study phase as to whether it would be better to acquire easements or to use the existing TxDOT right-of-way and/or other right-of-ways that are along the project corridor, or some combination of the two. So occasionally there'll be a property owner or two that the city may want to skirt around. So that input we would get from your city staff. Once we've decided what it makes sense for you to build, both in the short term and the long term, and where we put the lines, then we would go into the production phase of the project. We would do the plans, the easements, and the bid documents. We would be coordinating with the different agencies that would be involved in the project, including the Highway Department, TCEQ at the state that reviews or has the option to review the water and the sewer plans. If there's any FAA involvement, for example, with the lift station that's down the flight corridor, downstream of the airport, utilities and property owners that are along the project corridor, they would all be coordinated with during this phase of the project. We would monitor the construction cost and your budget periodically as we produce milestone submittals to make sure that the project is staying within your budget for it. And then we would also identify what are those critical path items in the project, and we would drive those items especially. And an example on projects like this is the easement acquisition. So we look to identify as early on in the design process as to where the easements need to be and how wide they need to be, and we get those documents done as soon as we can so that acquisition process can get underway. The last phase is the bidding and construction project. And given that you have major water and wastewater work that's already going on with the bond program, it's conceivable that the timing of our project could line up with one of the projects from that other major work that's going on. So we would want to make sure that we're lined up with that other work and that we're not overloading contractors. Or potentially folding our project in with a project from the bond, or keeping them separate. It would just depend on the timing. I think we would talk those alternatives over with you. And then we would support your staff as we need to during the construction process, whether it's with reviewing the contractor submittals or providing observations during the construction to make sure the contractor's staying on track. So those are the four phases as we see them.
I guess just to wrap up, I wanted to cover a slide on why select us. Just like Bruce has done a great job of outlining, we're experienced in this area of water and wastewater design and civil engineering services. Bruce has done previous work, like Mr. Godwin said, here with the city, so we have familiarity with the staff, and we know the processes here, so we feel like there wouldn't be a large learning curve. I personally haven't done engineering work in Paris, but I just want to mention I went to PJC back in 1990 and played baseball for Coach Click, so I enjoyed my time out here. Give a plug to PJC. So we do have in-house surveying expertise with both firms, so we could have two crews working simultaneously to keep up with an aggressive schedule. I mentioned we got TxDOT and FAA permitting experience, extensive experience with both of those agencies. Qualifications and capacity, we have 8 licensed Texas professional engineers between the two firms that would be working on these projects or available to work on these projects, actually living and officing in Texas. 3 registered land surveyors and 2 survey crews, as I mentioned. Overall, we have the large firm support of up to 400 employees and specialists in certain areas if we need them, for areas such as aviation, like I mentioned, structural support, environmental, geotechnical, any of those support services we need, we have those in-house. We've outlined a schedule, which will be on the next slide. It's also in the SOQ. Obviously, won't be starting in the middle of December. That'll need to be adjusted slightly, but we're looking at assuming we begin around the 1st of 2014, we could have design complete by mid to late April. Construction complete between mid-October of 2014 to late or mid-March of 2015, depending on the easement acquisition process and how long that process would take. That would obviously affect the construction schedule. As Bruce mentioned, we have similar project history with several municipalities that he covered. Just to name a few, in this area, Garland, Rowlett, City of Dallas. We're actually doing some surveying right now in the City of Commerce with our survey group for their paving improvements program that y'all may have heard about. And lastly, I'll mention quality control. With the two design teams in our structure, we're going to use that asset to cross-check our quality control between the teams. We'll be checking Grantham's work. They'll be checking Neil Schaefer work. That'll be done prior to any kind of submittal process to help make sure we have our quality control in check. So with that, I'd love to open it up to any questions that y'all may have.
Thank you again, both of you. Both a very nice presentation, particularly Mr. Grantham. That was very interesting. Both of you companies, did you think of any local participation? Did you think there was any need for local participation? No need for it? Or if you do get this contract, would you ask for local participation? Give me some ideas on that. Either one can answer, whichever one wants to. Or you don't think there's a need for it?
Well, I think that we feel very confident that we have the capability within our firms to get this project done. So there's no question from that standpoint. I know from the other project that I did recently that you don't have a lot of local firms, local engineering and surveying companies. So I guess we would want to know whether those companies or that company is tied up on your existing bond work, because we understand that's on a pretty aggressive schedule too. We just have the resources available to get this project done in-house, and especially from our Garland office, you're not that far away from us. What are your thoughts about the importance of having a local company?
I think it's important. I don't think it's imperative. I think it is always nice to have local involvement, partly because of the fact that the topography is known to the local people. Number two, certainly we like to have local dollars kept local, if not fully, partially. So I don't have any, obviously I support the local businesses, so I would, for me to say that that's not a good idea would be a wrong thing, because I like that idea. Okay. But by the same token, I think there are some innovative ideas that you have shared, which I really liked, and I think to look further down into future and make sure that those problems that we approve today, and I don't want 10 years from now to have an issue where the hydrogen sulfide part was not thought of, right, and it becomes a problem for the city. So I think it is important, by the same token, to have innovative ideas, to have some new ideas, and to have a different outlook. Than the purpose is not to just finish the task because the council gave the task. Right. The purpose also is to make sure that the job is well done. Right. And so I think our priority would be what serves the community and the residents whose money we are trying to spend, right, serves best for them. Right. So taking that into account, whether it's local or non-local, I feel that it would be wrong on our part to use taxpayer funds and spend it without thinking properly. And right, so there are ifs and buts on both of them, and there are pros and cons to both of them.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Grossnickel had asked a question from Hayder on the last presentation, which I think was an important question. But by the same token, as I said, I do favor local participation in it.
I would say that Derek and I would be on the same page that if it were to be a difference maker from the council's perspective, that we were to bring a local firm to be part of our team, that we would both be willing to do that.
And we did reach out, especially on the last program that came through, and to seek out some teaming arrangements, and weren't able to get those arranged. So we did make attempts to team locally.
Sometimes it's not always our decision to make.
Yes,
right?
I understand that.
But I think the fact that I know this doesn't address your tax dollar issue, but I think the fact that we've done work here
Yes.
very recently,
Yeah.
I think we feel very comfortable in dealing with your local, the way things are done here, and especially with Sean and your staff here at the city, if that is of any.
No, I did like your presentation, as I said. It was very nice. Mr. Wright.
Yeah, what do you consider to be the most economical way to achieve, whether using local participation or not, and if you think in any way it affects the finished product?
Are you talking about the economy of the engineering or the construction?
Both.
Or both. I think that you would find, and this I think across the board in terms of the cities that we deal with, that it's not going to make a material difference to the cost or the economics of the engineering portion of the project, because there are pretty well established guidelines that Sean would know well in terms of how our fees are determined once we're selected for a project. And the state doesn't allow us to talk about fees until a selection has been made, and then we're able to do that. But any firm that you would select is going to be working within, very established guidelines as far as the engineering portion of the project goes. I think the construction portion of the project is a different situation, however, and I think that's where I think we would be able to contribute something to the decision-making about how to package this project up, and also the timing of the bidding of it. Because we have seen in our years of dealing with a lot of city work that the availability of contractors can ebb and flow. And that can be based on the economy in general, or it can be local factors that impact it. So in a city of the size of Paris, in the same sense that you have limited local engineering and surveying companies available to handle significant projects, you have a similar situation with contractors, simply because the volume of the work mandates how big the construction companies can get here. So on the large, that's why I think that looking at where our project falls when we're ready to go to construction with it, where it falls in relationship to the other project, your bond project work, I think that's very important. Because we have seen recently, in recent months, the number of contractors that bid projects go down pretty regularly. Are you seeing that too,
We've also
Derek?
seen with some of the smaller projects, prices go up. So like Bruce is saying, if we could package that with some of your other work and all be part of the same bid package, if the timing could work, then there's opportunity for savings there.
Is this package of such size that it would attract good pricing?
I think so, but I think the danger would be if you had, a lot of times it's not just the size of the project, I think it's what else is being bid at the time that you bid the project. And I think that's where, that's another important factor about the economics. And I think that we would bring some value to you in terms of having experience with that and making recommendations to you about the timing of the project. And we would not hesitate to recommend to you, let's say that you had another package from your bond that was very similar work, that was being put together about the same time as our work was coming to a completion, that the two projects would be wrapped together and bid as one.
Thank you.
I think that you're going to see a greater economy of scale than having Because I think a large project's going to probably tie up your local people and have an outside contractor involved as well. So if we bought another project out at exactly the same time, I think it could knock your local people out of the running for that other job and then drive the cost of the project up. If that makes sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
No question.
Dr. Grosnickle?
Enjoyed your participation. Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions. Thank you for your time.
You did a great job. Thank you.
You don't have any
No, I don't
questions?
have any questions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
A very enjoyable presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Our final firm this evening is Allen Plummer Associates.
I'm sorry? Oh. My phone has not rung at all today. Matt, your phone?
Nope.
Okay.
All quiet on this.
Good evening. Are we ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay. We're from Allen Plummer Associates. We represent the Conveyance Services Group of Allen Plummer, which is about 13 professionals strong, doing mainly pipeline.
Can you
pump station
introduce
type
yourself
work.
on who you are?
Excuse me?
Can you tell us who you are?
Allen Plummer Associates.
Okay. No, what is your name?
Oh, David McPherson. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm the director of the Conveyance Services Group for Allen Plummer Associates. What we do is we're bringing a really good team here today. Ross Stanifer is the project manager for us on this pursuit, and we understand that the city has and the council has multiple different obligations. One's the city, the other is the public, and the industry as well. And those three really do have a heart in this project. With that, I want to understand that the council has an interest in all three. Your city engineer, Sean, has an interest in all three as well. What we're going to do is help you deliver the project so that we can complement your interest in all three of these entities, the industry, the public, and the city. We realize there's commercial interests. We realize there's interest out there at the Cox Field. And we also realize there's interest at the residential communities that are be served by this project. And with that, I'd like to have Ross take you through our process, take you through how we're going to deliver this project to the city with on budget, on time, and again, to deliver the services, the high-level service to all these agencies in interest. Ross?
Thank you, David. Hi, as David said, my name's Ross Standifer. I'm a design team leader for our Conveyance Services Group. Before I get going, I'd like to introduce two of our engineers that I brought with me tonight. On the right is Brian Wright. He's my lead pump station design and project manager, and George Farah. On the left is our lead pipeline design engineer and project manager for the project. Allen Plummer Associates has a vast array of experience in the pipeline area of practice. We've designed and constructed over 600 miles of pipeline of varying sizes. These things start out at an inch or two and go all the way up to 108 inches. The projects listed here are ones that we featured in our SOQ. They're ones you're probably familiar with from reading the materials we submitted. Each has unique aspects that we feel lends consideration to us as a design team. The pump station, again, a wealth of experience. We believe this is important. We understand this is a fast-paced project. Depth of experience will serve us as an asset in being able to quickly plan the project and get it implemented. Again, our design team has constructed and designed over 500 pump stations. Again, pump station from our SOQ that we covered. I won't talk about each one of these, but these focus on obviously wastewater lift stations due to the nature of the project, and water line, or I'm sorry, and the associated piping. Just a brief overview of the project. It was included in our SOQ. This just gives us some context to understand what we're up against in the rapid time frame. The approach that I've outlined in our SOQ will allow us to extend water service to Cox Field and initial sewer service to the areas a little closer to your collection system within the first year. Take approximately 12 to 14 additional months to complete the other phases of the projects that we've identified here as A through D. These are focused on drainage areas in your topography between the city and the airport. Again, to give us one of the constraints we have in a pipeline project, particularly one that's rapidly moving as we would anticipate this one to be, to get service in place as quickly as possible, is the alignment. And one of the reasons we feel that we can get the water line out to the airport in fairly rapid fashion is the straightforward alignment that you've got. Starting out at the south lift station here is where the wastewater would be conveyed to. And this route's going to just fly us along that route. The green lines here are a gravity interceptor, and again, these are just conceptual placements. We would have to get across 271 before we could head out towards the airport. These lines do show one line on each side of the road. In actual fact, as we got out into the field, we'd analyze both sides to see if one or the other was favored, or if your interests were best served by spacing the lines apart on either sides of the right-of-way. As we pass out through the B area, Phase B area, we'll pass the site, and this is a location where we would see a lift station happening that would allow service to this area. In preliminary views of the topography between the Phase B area and the Phase C area, it would appear that we could do a deeper cut of that pipeline to try to avoid an additional lift station in the area of C here that would collect this sewage flow. As we turn out Airport Road, again, fairly open area, we don't see any significant obstacles to right-of-way acquisition or the route planning. The topography varies in this area. Some of this flow sewage-wise would come back towards the highway, some would come towards this gravity interceptor on the west side of the airport. And the blue line is intended to illustrate the water line, which would have to continue to the north up Airport Road to serve existing development in the area. It would have a branch towards the Cox Field existing tenants. We'll stop the fly-through at this point. This line does go off, the interceptor does go off to the south end of the runway, where we'd anticipate a lift station, the major lift station of the project being located, that would eventually serve the entire basin surrounding the airport. Looking forward to helping you plan through the more distant phases of this project, it's important during Phase A for us to consider the entire airport master plan, the land uses in the area, those drainage basins, since all those flows would need to be conveyed back through the piping that we would see putting in early on. By deep cutting in Section C and extending the force main from the airport all the way back to the gravity line that we put in an A, we would minimize the long-term operating expenses. The Phase A and subsequent design phases in the first year we would see, including conceptual design of the areas I've shown here to make sure those pipes were adequately sized. This is just an overview and illustration of the schedule that we would see being able to meet on this project. Phase A through D would start design. Less than halfway through the year, we would anticipate completing the design for Phase A. That's about 7,000 feet of gravity interceptors. Several months later, we'd be done with the Phase B design. That would include a small duplex lift station and, again, some additional gravity lines. About 3/4 of the way, a little more through the year, about 10 months through the year, we would anticipate completing the Phase C. That's primarily gravity lines for a collection system. And then at the end of the first year, Phase D would be complete, and that is the primary lift station sited at the south end of the runway, the north-south gravity line at the airport, and some collecting laterals to service those. In each of these phases, we would envision extending water service to that area. Phase A, the line would go all the way out to the airport, and as we phased in the improvements, each phase of improvement would have some water service where we would anticipate attaching service connections for existing customers. At the end of that first year, that would give the city initial sewer capability in the area closest to the Highway 271 in the south lift station. Phase A would also have to include some planning and analysis at that lift station to phase its expansion to match the system developments. We believe the experience we bring, the team we bring, will allow us to effectively meet your needs in a very rapid period. This is a project type that we've done before, and we feel very confident that this schedule can be met. And I'll take any questions you have.
Can you go to the second slide, please, where you were playing? No, actually, it was where you were going through the 271.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're looking for a map?
No, the one that you played.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. Mr. Hundley, they were speeding. They covered 3 miles in 90 seconds. That's over 90 miles an hour.
Give it an extra 10 to 15 minutes. I could have complied with all that. I will. I will confess to being a pilot, so I do enjoy the view. So,
okay.
And I'm excited about the possibility of being able to help you get water and sewer service out to the airport here.
Thank you. I'll ask with Mr. Wright first. I'll come back to my question at the end.
I wanted to ask, would you use any local participation with your group?
We would like to use local participation. I have talked to city staff at some points about, in particular, construction administration. In a project of this type, it would be ideal to have local engineering on board. I am familiar with the resources in the area, and we would be looking for local assistance in various phases of the design and construction of the project.
How do you think that plays out in the area of cost and finished product?
Well, cost is, again, generally how fast you want the capacity you want. In other words, as we go through each of these phases, we're going to take a look at the alternate technologies that are available. We have several projects, a couple of them are listed in our SOQ that talk about low-pressure sewers, where we've gone in and used fiberglass wells, installed one at an existing house or an existing business, written the construction documents such that the contractor, not the city, is responsible for making those electrical connections, the physical connections, taking somebody off septic. That type of service and what I call an initial startup flow shouldn't be terribly expensive, depending on how much future capacity we want to build in. So we would look at balancing that phasing with your cash flow and your needs. In other words, obviously getting potable water service out to the airport is a priority. We're not talking about expensive pipe, we're talking about PVC pipe with multiple manufacturers. So I wouldn't look for this to be a particularly expensive project, each individual project, when you stack them up. If we try to do them truly in the 2-year time frame, then that will require some significant budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins?
I have no questions.
Ms. Lancaster?
Enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Dr. Gross-Nickel?
I don't have anything right now, thank you.
Mr. Frierson?
No questions. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Drake?
Thank you. Appreciate it. No questions.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You answered Mr. Wright's question. My question to you is, supposing the local firms don't want to participate with you?
Then we would look to have someone out here at the time and in the intensity that the project required. There are lots of resources we could bring to bear as sub-consultants. many of which would put someone out here if necessary. So again, if the local firm, and I'm familiar with them, didn't have the capacity, couldn't participate along the timing of the project. But again, a project of this nature, we're not talking about something that's going to require a site resident engineer. Many of the meetings and interfaces we would have with city staff could be done remotely if necessary to accelerate the project. So I don't look to that as being an impediment. I'm doing a project right now in Stillwater, Oklahoma, that's a very modest design budget. It's basically a $50,000 design and construction budget. It's a modest project, so we're familiar with working at distance, and when we need somebody out there, we have an Oklahoma City office that's an hour away, and we get somebody out there.
All right. And when you do, if you don't have a person here and you want to send people over, I'm not talking about cost, but is there a charge for that? Wasn't there a charge in our previous contract?
For the travel?
Yeah.
If you have travel above and beyond what's agreed to, for example, if the contract agrees to 5 meetings, if they do more than that, if they have to do 6 or 7, then they charge you additionally for that. Just additional services is all.
Okay. And the last thing that I want to go back is, can you go back to your airport design phase D?
You're looking for a map again, sir?
Yes, I'm looking for the map again.
Oops, I think I passed it.
I think it was your last slide or the slide before.
I think, was that, you're looking for that?
Yeah, it's this one.
Yes, sir.
Explain to me what is this H-I-N-J?
Essentially, what we did was we looked at the existing tenants as the last phase that would quite obviously need to be done in the next 2 years, let's say, for the sake of argument. Then we took a look at your airport master plan and identified what areas that were pegged for future development, and essentially it makes available anything outside of the dedicated FAA runway clearways as future development. So we simply looked at the natural topography of the area and tried to estimate the number of lift stations and where they might be. And again, these would be morphed and changed based on the desires of the city council, city staff, and any developers that you might be talking to out there. Phase H, for example, would require a lift station because the hill drains obviously away from the runway back down in this direction. There's nothing inviolate about this line. If there was a developer that wanted to take every bit of area he could over here, save the runway clearway, we could change that around and with a little bit of extra line depth, drain that area to the same lift station. So again, it's an attempt to show you some logical phases. And they're simply lettered the way they are because we would view the most desirable development area being this land that's got ready access, it's more cheaply developed. The road access is a little bit more difficult, but the northern, in our view, would be favored, and we just simply numbered it in the order that we believe a developer would look at it. There's nothing more mysterious than that.
Okay. My next question to you is, you know where the crossover is on 271?
The highway interchange?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How, technically speaking, though I'm not an engineer, explain to me in simple language, how do you plan to access that or cross it?
Typically, TxDOT requires us to bore from right-of-way to right-of-way. In other words, we would have a pit outside of the land that the highway is dedicated for the highway. And the contractor, in advance of the pipeline work, would dig a pit on each side and would auger bore or tunnel under this. At this line size, it would be simply a steel auger that they would use to bore that.
So is it like a trenchless thing that you're talking about?
It is a trenchless technology. We would also look at horizontal directional drilling would be an option. We can pull pipe that far and in these pipe sizes.
Okay. And do you feel there is a strong issue with stagnation of water in the distal end of these pipes?
We do need to look at the water age issue in the distribution line. There's a potential that you may want to consider putting in a phased set of lines. In other words, that the ultimate capacity that's desired in that area might be supplied by 2 parallel pipelines. So there's a number of ways we can address that, but the bottom line is if there's not sufficient use out there that's connected, then there's a potential you could have to handle that with treatment or blow-offs.
Okay. Are there any other thoughts that you have on this? What other ways can you do that?
As far as the water particularly goes, I think that the critical thing is to look at how quickly you believe that capacity is going to be required.
Okay. All right.
A lot of time, and I have a lot of experience with this, a lot of time when you loop a system, I don't know if the other engineers consider looping. A lot of times when you loop a system like this.
Loop into what?
Loop it back into the main system.
Okay. We have done looping back in our streets over here.
Right.
On dead-end streets, we have looped the system.
And a lot of times what happens there is you just simply push water in a circle. And a lot of times you degrade larger parts of your system. So that's something that needs to be considered with hydraulic modeling and something that we can provide to you.
And that's what I indicated, as we look at that in that first phase, that is one of the issues we would look at front and center. How far is it to provide a loop line from the northern end of Airport Road back to the nearest point of connection?
And since you've studied this, are you aware that there's a Lamar County line there?
I'm aware of the line, I'm not sure exactly where it is.
Okay. Is there a choice of looping it into the Lamar County line?
Ideally, if you have a contract for supply where you have a known flow, that would be essentially the equivalent of not really looping, but of having a known base flow that we could analyze the age of that water off of.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Where are your offices? Your main office is Fort Worth. You mentioned Oklahoma City.
Our corporate headquarters are in Fort Worth. We have an office in Dallas. We have an office in Oklahoma City. We have an office in Austin. And an office in Houston. We also have a small office in College Station, another small office in Phoenix, Arizona. Our conveyance group specifically is designed and laid out over multiple offices. My design team, I have engineers that work for me in our Fort Worth office and in our Oklahoma City in addition to Dallas. So again, we've become pretty adept at working with each other over distances and with clients over distances.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from council members? No. Mr. McPherson, I have a question for you. Where did you do your doctorate from and what was your thesis on?
I did my doctorate at the University of Toronto. My thesis was on hydrodynamic loading during transient loads on large diameter pressure pipeline design.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate your time and input, and we'll let you know.
Very nice to meet all of you. We appreciate your time and consideration.
You didn't let anybody else speak, though. The other two people just sat.
They were poised and ready to answer questions.
Oh, really? Should we restart?
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Napier, since you are standing right here. I'm just curious on what did you think of the 4 presentations?
Out of the 4, I know, having worked with some of these gentlemen before, I know, no doubt all 4 could do the job. But as far as leaning toward one or the other, I would have to say, I know Hewitt-Zollars, I know I like some of their approaches. Not sure they did a good job on their presentation tonight. Getting someone's name wrong in the first place, but just struck me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But that's one of I know technically all of them are good. I would say from looking at their documents of what you guys have in your packet tonight, we did score Hewitt-Zollars the highest. After hearing some presentations tonight, I think leaning toward either Tingnaul and Perkins. I know all these have done a lot of different jobs, but I know they're ones that do a pretty good job as well. And I know I've like I say, know a lot of these guys personally, and known some of them from my City of Garland days. And you can't go wrong with any of those. But I think Tingnaul and Perkins would be. I mean, I just know their work history, their ethics, and what they've done in the past. You know, just being a good engineer and not like I say. I think we heard from Mr. Grantham tonight about giving money back to a city when it wasn't needed, and I know that's really important as well.
Thank you. Back to you now. Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, this is probably the first time I've actually seen much of this project. So this is the first time I've seen their presentations as well. it would seem that decision is kind of similar to the previous bond package or the previous portion of the bond. You kind of have the bigger firm with the local, who's already teamed up with the local knowledge and Zoller and what's their full name? Hewitt and Zoller. And then you got TNP, who Teagan Hall and Perkins, who also has kind of ingenuity, who's already kind of familiar with the plan. Same thing with Alan Plummer, and they're all largely already qualified. This is mostly what they do, water and sewer. So, you want me to make a pick as well?
No, that's good enough.
Okay.
Just want to.
Because I would say
That's
they're
good
all
enough.
largely qualified.
Okay. You want to say something? So, yes.
They received a copy of the individual evaluation. Mayor, I believe my evaluation is included in your packet for taking mine.
Okay. All right. Okay. City manager?
No. Well, of course, in your agenda packet, you got the order in which we ranked them based on just what they submitted on paper. I think, like Sean said, that the presentations this evening were not consistent with that. I think you have to be careful, like we talked about last time, with presentations, just because, for example, Mr. Cheatham was not a very good speaker. That doesn't mean he's not a very good engineer. And so I think I would, based on a combination of the presentations and the paper submittals, I would suggest that Teagnall and Perkins or Neal Schaefer, Cheatham, and Grantham would be my top two choices of the four. And just for what it's worth, some of you remember that I worked in Rowlett for a number of years, and two of these firms mentioned projects in Rowlett, but they both occurred after I was there. So I didn't work with any of those folks, and I have worked with Grantham in Fairview on two road projects. Of course, did a road project here, so I've not worked with them on a utilities project, only road projects. And if in case you're wondering, that unusual accent is New Zealand.
Okay.
I have a question. We asked three of the firms about using local, but I don't remember what Teagnall and Perkins said, or
They
if
didn't
we
say
asked
anything,
them.
but it's written in their
Did I
package.
miss it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
written in their package that they will have, there's one box which says local involvement.
Okay, okay. I missed it, I guess. Thank you.
I'll start. If I was to rate, I would rate Teagnall and Perkins as the bottom. I didn't like their presentation. I didn't like their overall attitude, and too complicated. And so that would be my rating on them. I think the two of the highest that I would rank would be, just a second, I don't want to make a Neal Schaefer and Zoller would be my two top picks. And my third pick would be the last group, which was the Alan Plummer group. If I was to pin it down completely, I'm a little bit torn between Neal Schaefer and Zoller, and the tier between the two is that I like the local involvement on Mr. Zoller, and the reason for that is there's a lot of experience about the city in Zoller, which comes from the two local firms which are participant in it. But I do have some of the same concern as Dr. Grossnickel did on, how much work they can do. And so what I would say is, if Neal Schaefer would have a local participant, I'd favor Neal Schaefer and tell them that you need to get a local participant.
Now, is he the one that said they could offer it, but they would have to be willing to accept? Is he the one?
No, that was what I said.
No, but, I mean.
one of them said.
One of them said it. Was
He
that one?
said that they will be willing to accept.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that the local would have to be
Yeah.
willing to accept.
I felt that Zoller is a big company, and I just felt that they were just a little bit too big for us, and they were kind of a little very proud about that, and they may be proud for the work that they do, which is fine. It's just my feeling. But I think I would probably take Neil Schaefer if they were willing to have local participation. And if they were not, then I'd go to Zoller. And I definitely like the idea. They have innovative ideas which were different. And they were not just ready to finish the job, they were thinking of what options they had. And the other thing that I like that idea of returning the money to the city. Yes, that idea I definitely liked, and I don't think that is very commonly seen. So I think I would pick for Neil Schaefer with the idea that they should be asked that you need to have some local participation.
I had picked Neil Schaefer, and I think that they would, well, he said they would use local participation if we requested it.
And that could be part of the negotiation with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mr. Jenkins, you are on.
I'm on. I like Neil Schaefer also. I mean, Hewitt Zollers, I like them also, but I'm like Mr. Grossnick. I think they might be a little high, and I think the other company, Hader Engineering, might be spread a little thin.
Ms. Lancaster, your time.
Well, I liked both Neil Schaefer and the Hewlett Zoller. If Neil could get some participation locally, I think that would certainly enhance my attitude. But I really did like Alan Plummer's presentation.
Yeah, it was very nice. I think they did a good job. Everybody
They
did a good
did
job.
a good job on that, but I'm leaning toward Neil Schaefer.
Dr. Grossnickel.
Yeah, I wish that Ross fellow that presented for Alan Plummer could join in with the New Zealand fella and have their own firm, and they'd be golden. But presented with these four, I don't know. I still like TNP, but again, that's probably because of Mr. Schmidt. But I think any of these companies could do the job. I don't think we need to focus on necessarily as much on local participation, in that probably whoever gets the job, if we make that sort of an option, it might not be a 50-50 split, but I suspect they would bring on board the people to, like Hader, to do the job. Now, the surveying, I don't know enough about Mr. Cheney as opposed to any other surveyors that they might bring in, but I guess I'd pick Neil Schaefer first, and I don't know. The other three, they're all similar.
I thought you were running away from the hot seat.
No, this chair keeps going down to the floor.
Oh,
I shrink as the longer we're there, I just keep going down.
8:30.
By 10 o'clock, you're not going to see me.
Mr. Franklin, who won the game? Cowboys or not? Yesterday they got beat again.
I'm in no shape comment on the Cowboys, so.
Okay.
They found a new way to lose.
Okay. Mr. Frierson's in the hot seat now.
Yeah, well, I want to back up for a minute. And first of all, I think any of the four could be completely competent and probably do a satisfactory, if not exemplary job. But before I kind of go down my road on if we have to rank them, I just want to back up and look at this again. And I know we've talked about it before, but I just feel reasonably compelled to bring it back up that we're talking about this extension to the airport. And while I agree that there's an opportunity at the airport long term, I'm looking at the costs associated with this. Sean, can I ask you a couple of questions real quick? When you initially gave this presentation to us, you sort of laid out a rough estimate of what the project would cost, and that was $5.5 million. Is that
extremely rough estimate. No,
I understand that.
No, we put all that together in about a little over a day.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going with that. Is that does that include, would that include design, or is that separate?
Well, I think that's really going to design on, like I say, we've seen a lot of different approaches tonight. I think depending on which approach is selected, you're going to see a cost go along with that approach, such as Allen Plummer's approach with looks like multiple projects.
Yeah.
You're going to see a higher cost of that just from, if they're bidding out 4 contracts, you're going to see a lot higher cost associated with 4 contracts.
Yeah.
So, each one of those would have a different, I can't answer the question
I
correctly, but each one will have a little bit different approach to it.
I'll say this, I hear what you're saying, so
Yeah.
I got that. But, and I guess my question back to the group is, conceivably, we're talking about anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 to $850,000 for this study, if my numbers are right, 10 to 15% of whatever the project cost is.
I think we settled, what was just under 13% on the econ after all the.
12 point something.
Yeah, like 12.7 or 6 or something like that is what it ended up being. But that also included like a geotech, some other things, the surveying cost, which is kind of broken out. I think your basic engineering fees anywhere from 6 to 8%. Then you start adding in all those other particular items.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, ballparking it, we're over $500,000 for the design.
More than likely, yes.
Yeah.
I think you're probably looking somewhere maybe a little bit higher than what you said, because this particular job will have easement acquisition as
So
well, which will add
Considerably
another
close
factor.
to $750,000.
Yes, sir, I believe
Okay.
so.
And that would push the project somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.25 million total.
Probably somewhere around 6.5. Yeah.
And out of our entire bond package that we passed, the final number on that was how many? 35, 45?
45.
45 million. So
You sold 35 earlier.
yeah. So I mean, you're conceivably spending well over 10% just on this project, and personally, I'm concerned about that. I can see the merits in both of focusing on just here in Paris, and then.
Mr. Bryson, I've got to stop you for 1 second. And please don't take me wrong, I'm not trying to stop you. But that part has been voted on. So we cannot go back on that part.
I'm not asking anybody to go back, but I feel compelled if this is the
You
time
can
for
speak, and
discussion.
that's why I'm not stopping you.
Right.
But I do want you to tell you that
Yes.
it has been voted on.
Unfortunately for me, yes, I'm well aware that it's been voted
Yes.
on, and I think
Yes,
there's
so I
probably
just
one
want to
the other
emphasize
way.
that, but
So-
I'm not going to stop you. Please say
Fine.
whatever
Okay.
you want to say.
Well, my concern is that overall, you're committing that percentage and that much money to a portion of the project of the overall monies that the citizens of Paris have voted on that, really, we haven't even analyzed what our return on our investment is. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, I asked that question last time. Nobody's really said, it's not really one of those things, if you build it, they'll come. We don't know that. But that being said, I understand that the decision has been made that this is, the horse is out of the barn on that. So back to the point of your question on how the firm stacked up, like I said, I think all 4 are equally qualified and reputable firms. I appreciate the staff taking the time to rank them all. I think I may fall more in line with the staff rankings. I may switch the order and go Tignall and Perkins maybe as a first choice, and the Hewitt Zollers as second choice. So just to narrow it down to that, I just want all that, people to be mindful of all that. So,
thank you.
Were you fixing to say something?
No,
John?
I was
No,
going to
I was
say-
looking at John.
Oh,
He
I'm
has this
sorry.
look on his face.
I did want to say one more thing, but I want to wait till after you speak.
Just by reading the information that was given to us, and I appreciated getting it ahead of time so that we had lots of opportunity. So thank y'all for that. I had my mind totally made up differently, even than what the staff ranked, which I admire and I respect tremendously. And then having heard the presentations tonight, it changed my mind again. My first choice is Neil Schaefer. My second choice is TNLP.
Yes.
Perkins, whatever that is. So those are my 2.
Okay. All right, so we have to decide on this. So I'll make a motion that we take Neil Schaefer and ask them to have local involvement in it. And I would also, in my motion, suggest, just like last time, the two people who we owe almost $500,000 to be part of the negotiations as well, again. And so that's my motion. And I need a second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one opposed?
So we'll go ahead and begin the negotiation.
Begin negotiations with Neil Schaefer, but again, my part of was local involvement. All right. No, I've lost my papers. I think here they are. What all is left? Am I completely off the?
No, but we could go home if you want.
Listen, I won't get tired. Don't worry. I'm willing to stay. All right. And Mr. Friesen, I do want to say one thing. I think your comments are very well taken, and I hope and pray that the decisions that we make are successful for the city.
As do I.
Yeah. Okay, item number 21. Discuss and act on amendment to personnel policies to include a previous for by back of sick leave. Ms. Collard.
Council, as the memo stated, we had a policy committee in which we decided that we wanted to bring back and look at the sick leave sellback policy. We did that and came up with the policy that you have in front of you, and we are bringing that forward to you tonight for a vote. We took a very conservative approach to this policy. We apparently, years ago, they had a previous sellback policy. The one that we are suggesting today is nowhere near that top policy. This is a very baby step towards that. We decided we couldn't afford the other approach. So this is just something that we feel that is going to encourage less absenteeism while also giving our employees a little bit of benefit and trying to take a step toward improving morale.
That's it, Ms. Collard? Ms. Collard, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I think the city manager has provided, there was something that said that it's a local government code that it has to be followed on this?
No. Gene had just mentioned in his memo that this is just kind of a step to close the gap between the difference in the civil service benefits employees get that are civil service versus our general population. Civil service, the local government code rules are that any civil service employee is eligible to be paid out for 90 days when they leave the civil service.
Okay. And so is this what was provided to me, which was 143.116?
Right, that came from Gene.
And this is the local...
I sent that to you this morning, yes.
Okay, I didn't get it. That's why I just got it. Actually, the city manager just gave me. So it is not a question of our choice of what we decide. This is the code and this has to be followed?
For civil service, correct. And the thing is, for our civil service employees, we have one standard, and for all of our other employees, we have a different standard.
Okay. One of the things that bothers me is the fact that if you create that, does it encourage sick people to come to work?
It can. It's always hard to judge, people's motivations. You'll have some folks that will do that. You will have some people who it will not affect at all. You'll have some people that are going to behave most of our employees are good, conscientious folks. They're going to behave a certain way regardless, and you're just going to be rewarding their behavior. You know, one of the thoughts is that this could actually save us money. Unfortunately, in an organization with 350 employees, you just have some people that just plain old earn them and burn them, as they say, and unfortunately we'll never get rid of those people, and this is not a motivation enough to make them change. Because they're going to say, well, I could get paid to stay home, or I could get paid to go to work, and those kind of people would rather just pretend like they're sick. So it'd be great if that would work that well, but I don't have any illusions that it will.
Okay.
So really it's kind of a more of a reward for people who are very reliable.
Okay.
The policy actually does allow for 5 days. You can miss 5 days in a year and still do sell back.
Okay.
So you could.
My next question is, can it not be added to the end of retirement? That you accumulated, and so there is no money exchange in it. At the end of retirement, it is added to your retirement, that your
As
service is added by
part of your termination check.
Mhm.
Could be. I worked in the city a couple of jobs ago.
No, not termination check. But what I'm saying is that is allowed as time of service.
He wants to count that towards.
Leave? You mean
Yes.
count it as terminal leave?
Yes.
It's added at the end, so they get to,
paid.
they're paid.
So that in case they have, supposing somebody has accumulated a year of sick leave, so instead of having 30 years of service, they have 31 years of service.
Just added on to their years of service.
Yeah. And is that not what is usually done by the state as well?
I'm not sure what you mean by added on to
No.
years of service. Are you saying pay them for that additional year?
No, that
Or
they
just-
would be able
I
to,
think-
like if they got ready to retire and they had 30 years of service in with the city, that it would show on paperwork they're retiring with 31
1 year
years.
of service.
That doesn't affect their retirement, though. Retirement's based on your interest earned and how much is put into your account, not based on your number of years.
What does the state do?
Yeah.
Does anybody know?
It
do
varies because if you're in law enforcement, it's different than just sort of like civil service,
Yeah.
and it's different.
Yeah, but TMRS is based on actual contributions and interest rate.
Okay, let me rephrase this. Say that you have to have, somebody has to have 20 years to retire with the city. And they have 19, but they have a year of sick leave
Yeah,
built up.
I don't believe TMRS would allow that.
I don't think
They
so.
don't.
Yeah,
They
because you actually
I
literally
think
be
that's
20
what he's
years
saying.
of service,
Right.
so
I don't think.
you
that-
couldn't retire a year early that way, for example.
Yeah,
Is there anyone who has been a state employee here? I just want to
Ray
find out.
Banks.
I have.
You've been a state employee? Okay.
Okay.
If you don't mind me asking, what was your policy?
It's different, because my husband's was different, because he's in law enforcement.
We were limited that. So much.
The state's policy at the time I retired was that we were able to accumulate unlimited amount of sick leave. And then at the end of your service, that sick leave that was added to the time that you had actually worked. And then your retirement was based on your added time plus your time worked.
Okay.
But ours was not based on, like John said, on a percentage of your
Contribution.
contribution.
Okay.
So that would help in TMRS,
It would not help.
because it's not based on time.
May I say one other thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
On the civil service, they're not buying back every year. They're only buying back when they terminate.
Right.
Up to 90
Yeah,
days.
90 days.
So it's not a yearly sale back.
Yeah, it's not a yearly
It's a
cycle.
one-time thing.
You have any comments on this?
I agree with the city manager. I don't think you can start trying to mesh this into TMRS. It's a whole
Okay.
different system that we don't even have control over. They're statewide.
Okay.
So.
And what is your recommendation?
Oh, I think we should do this, absolutely. It's a way to, as you know, come budget time, it's difficult for us to give raises around here. And it is a way to offer, especially our most reliable employees, a little something. It is something that our long-term employees used to have, and for whatever reason, I don't know, good or bad, they lost it. Previous council took that out. And there's people that still resent that, right or wrong. And as you can imagine, you have something and you lose it. And so I think it would be a real good message to send our employees to do this. Of course, we did have the committee of two, and they recommended it, and they're very wise people, and I certainly.
Are you benefiting out of all of this?
No, I don't accumulate sick leave with my stuff, so
good.
it doesn't do anything for me.
Mr. Wright, I'm going to come back with some more questions, but go ahead, Mr. Wright.
I'm really torn between the two on this thing. I'd like to help the employees. What do you think the cost to the city would be?
It's going to be in the tens of thousands. It kind of depends on, of course, how well people do with attendance, and then everybody's not going to want to turn those in. You've got people like me that I'm sick all the time, so to speak. I'm not really, thank goodness, but I do have to go to the hospital twice a month, and so I use up time for things like that. It'll be in the tens of thousands, and it's not a budgeted number, but as you'll recall when we met back a couple of months ago, it won't be cost until the 2014-2015 budget. So we'll know just what it is when we do the budget next fall.
So we would know when we do the budget in the fall how many people are eligible to sell back if they sold back the full amount.
And what we'd probably do at that point is if every single one of them wanted it, we'd budget $41,000 or $27,000 or $82,000, whatever it might be. It would almost certainly be less than that because some of the people that are eligible are going to not do it for whatever reason.
All right, let me go further and then come back if you have further questions. Mr. Jenkins?
Tough. I just go with the policy, I guess.
Okay. Ms. Lancaster?
Well, looking at it as a morale issue, I would be in favor because we need to keep our morale up.
Dr. Grossnickel?
I'm in favor of it. I think it's a good plan, and I think many people might resent being told that they're only going to get 50% of their pay if they turn it in, and they might hold on to it anyway. So I think it's a step in the right direction, and we should approve it.
Mr. Frierson?
Well, I like it. I think that I think John hit the nail on the head. You need to take care of those that are really taking care of you day to day. And if this is another way to do that, because you will know the actual cost or an approximate thereof, then I would be supportive of it.
Ms. Drake?
Well, I was on the committee, and so I was in support of it, and I still am. I wished we could do more like the old policy, but the money's not there. And right now, we haven't been able to give raises since I've been on council. And this at least, gives them a little incentive to come to work and to have something that they could get some money back on. I lost my train of thought. And I think it's really important that we keep morale. And John said, we'll know how much. Well, if we ended up giving raises, we know it's going to be a lot more than this. And I just don't see it right now. Hopefully we'll get a lot of new businesses in, our tax base will go up, and we can do both. But at least it's a start in the right direction to take care of our employees and keep them faithful to us.
I'll come back to Mr. Wright. Anything that you want to add? Or
I would be in favor of it.
All right, well then, and if it becomes an issue at some point, one can always come back to it.
Sure.
They took it out once before?
Yeah, so hopefully we don't have to.
I hope we don't have to.
Mr. Mayor, if I can, I do want to make a comment on what Mr. Frierson had mentioned about, some people having a little resentment on only getting 50%. We obviously did that for cost purposes. My hope is that a few years down the road, once we know more actual cost, that's not something we can't come back and address, that maybe whether bumping the 2 weeks up to 100% or bumping the 2 weeks to maybe 4 weeks, something to increase it later. This is a baby step for us.
All right, sure. Good enough. So let's make a motion on this item.
I make a motion that we approve the sick leave sellback policy.
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Oh my God, I'm telling you, what is the time? 8:45. 22 and 23. We want to continue on, right? This is our only meeting.
Right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, just to continue on, okay. Item number 22, discuss and act on a home repair loan program. Mr. Godwin will explain this, but just so that, do we need to untable this item?
No. The last time it was on here, you instructed me to bring something back. So,
okay.
So it's a separate item.
All right. So just so that everybody knows, this is the item that we had discussed about the $5,000 that the banks were willing to loan for home improvements, in which the city was to guarantee half of it, and the half, $2,500 that we came up was based on what is being used essentially to break those homes down, which the city has to spend. So I want to emphasize one thing very clearly on this, that once Mr. Godwin has presented, if the council agrees to it, then it will go back to the bankers for them to re-review it before it is finally done. But all yours, Mr. Godwin.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be quick. Again, this is a loan program, but the city would not itself be making any loans. Those are financial institutions, and they would be doing that through their normal procedures or maybe some modifications thereof in conjunction with the city. To qualify for a loan, I'll kind of skip through these, and a couple of these I don't necessarily have a strong feeling on, and so I'd kind of like to get some input from you. That first group to qualify, you have to be in the city and so forth. I think those are pretty obvious. Single-family dwelling. We're not talking about apartments. We're not talking about businesses. We're talking about people's homes. And in that next category, the client must be elderly or disabled. You may or may not agree with that. The owner and occupant of the home. The reason for that is that we don't want to go out and help people who have a whole lot of rental properties. That's not the point. That may be a home to someone if they live there, so you may disagree with that, but that's the reason for that. It wasn't about trying to help rental properties. It's about trying to save people's homes that are deteriorating and they're having a hard time keeping up with it. And I think the other things are kind of obvious. Financially, physically unable to do it, have to be up on your taxes and don't have any liens and so forth. And then as far as the actual repairs, the biggest thing we're after is close that envelope. Because if that envelope is not closed, and that usually means a hole in the roof or holes in the roof, but it can also mean broken windows, broken doors, holes in walls even, lack of weatherproofing, lack of weather stripping. But if moisture is getting into that building, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and those people aren't going to be able to live there anymore. And it's not because they're bad people, it's not because they don't care, it's just because in this category they can't do it themselves or they can't afford to have it done for them. And the house ends up on our demolition list, and it's great when we have to get one demolished and we were to succeed, but it's also a failure that was somebody's home that ultimately ended up in the landfill instead of with a family living in it. And so we're after closing up those envelopes. That would be the top priority. And on the second page, I've got some that I thought may also be worthwhile to look at. Maybe not as high, I don't think as high priority as closing in that envelope, but things like energy efficiency and fall prevention, fire safety, stuff like that. You do have some older structures especially that have real fire safety issues. We don't issue COs every time the electricity changes. We don't do CO inspections like we've started doing with businesses. So you can have some very old wiring, some very old connections. You have some people that do homemade electrical work that don't know how. And so you want to try to get that fixed if you can. So there's things like that, the gas service and so on and so forth. And then I've got some stuff there about the loans, and we mostly I think talked about all of that. But they'd actually be managed by the financial institutions themselves. We would set aside money from our demolition budget, and hopefully it's actually saves us money, because as we save homes, we save money having to tear down houses. I've got the guarantee there would be $2,500 or 50% of the loan amount, and you may want to double that so that our amount is actually $5,000 and the loan is $10,000. We've talked about that, and I'm not sure if we're clear exactly which way we want to go, but obviously you can make that amount what you want. But that's just what I started with, so I think that's worth talking about or thinking about to clarify. They still have to get permits and inspections, because the reason for inspections is to make the stuff safe, but we would waive the cost. There's no point in us doing that to them, because if somebody gets a $5,000 loan, we don't want them to spend $400 on a permit to the city. That kind of defeats the whole purpose. And then also there has to be a way to monitor that so that if they get $5,000 to fix their roof, they don't go buy, a new TV set and carpet. Those might be nice things, but that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to save people's homes from demolition.
All right. I don't think there's any better time to do it than this, partly because of what we have just seen in the city and what we have faced. I do want to say one thing. Personally, I would take the elderly or disabled out because it is a very hard qualification of what is elderly and what is disabled.
I would not want to be the person to define that.
Yeah. And the second thing that I would say is, I would say stick to the $2,500 and let it be $5,000 so that we can cover more. Yes, not everything may be done, but I would do that. But instead of, since the city is not really spending any money, instead of the $50,000 set aside, I'd set $100,000 so that more number of people is covered, because really this is not money that you're giving to anyone. It's still in your bank account. It doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
And we still have a budget. We still have about $260,000 in our demolition budget. So it will not make a huge. And at some point, if at some point we need to come back and readdress it, we can always come back and readdress the issues. So those would be the two changes or three changes that I would prefer to have. With that said,
What was the other one? I just got.
Well, I said take the elderly and disabled out. Continue to leave it at $2,500.
Oh, okay.
But increase the city shall set aside instead of 50 to 100,000.
Okay.
Because that really gives us $200,000, and that means it's about, 40 properties.
I have a question for Mr. Godwin. You say no liens on the house, so you're saying these people have to own their house 100%? They can't be making a mortgage payment?
Well, yeah, and that needs to be clarified because that's not what I meant. As soon as
Okay.
you said that, I thought, no, we're talking about tax liens, we're talking about code liens, the kinds of things, in other words, that keep you from being able to run for city council in most cities. I don't know if that's true here or not. I've seen this. You can't have tax liens or delinquent taxes, and so I need to change the language on that. Because no, if you still owe a house payment or a mechanics lien, there's no reason to hold that against them.
And Dr. Grossnickel, since I was in discussions with the bankers, I can tell you one other thing on this. The bankers will want to see some of these stuff themselves, because really they are the ones who are going to give the loan, and they're going to be the ones inspecting that the money is being spent, and they're the ones who are collecting on it. So.
That's fine. That's good.
Mr. Wright, any questions?
No, I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a good idea, and I like the program.
I like the program.
Dr. Grossnickel?
It seems like a good idea.
Mr. Frierson?
All for it.
In my opinion, it's great.
Okay. I'll take a motion on this item that it be approved and sent to the bankers for their review, and if there are any changes, then it be brought back to the council.
And we'll make those two changes you suggested, and then I'll clarify the lien stuff. I'll
Is
change
that
the language on that.
fine with everyone?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I don't want to sidetrack on this, but I was just thinking if we can please put on the agenda one other thing, and the council, I want the council to think about it. Just like we have given tax abatements and we have done this for homeowners, what does the council think about giving some of those things towards people who have property in downtown? So think about it, and we'll put it on the agenda for discussion.
Okay, yeah, I think.
For future.
And I'm sure Sherry would be here if she knew that we're on the agenda.
No,
But
it's not on the agenda.
No, I know, but if she sees it, I know she'll be
Yeah.
here, but I
Yeah.
think there
And
may be
not
a few
just-
things on the books.
Yeah, not
already.
just for historic district, but for downtown buildings. What can be done if an owner wants to do it?
I know there's a grant program where they can apply for grants already, so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
let's also talk about if the city would be willing to give them some abatements or
Yeah.
something to make it more attractive for people to want to fix
Big
their
businesses
downtown
down there.
buildings as well. So we'll bring it back as an agenda item next time.
Right.
Okay. Moving right along, item number 23 is received report regarding I thought that ice cream.
He's tired. He's tired. He's hungry.
I storm from the city manager and department head. Ms. Drake requested. Ms. Drake, you want to address this issue?
Yes. I did request that this be put on the agenda tonight so we could get the latest information from start to up to today as to how the city responded to the ice storm, how we're continuing to respond, what good things they did, what maybe some hiccups along the way happened. And but before they start, I would like to say I applaud all of the citizens of Paris and how they came together during this disaster. And it is a disaster for our city. And how hard our employees and how dedicated that our employees were that had been out in the field day and night. And with that being said, I'll let them make their presentations and then anything that I have to say at the end.
Okay. And thank you very much for mentioning the employees. And I'll talk about that a little bit too at the end of my comments. Beginning the week of December 2nd, we began gearing up for a possible weather incident. Forecasters were predicting that we very well would have cold weather and possibly ice. It seems to be the vogue that weathermen overestimate these things these days, but as the week went by, it became obvious that it was for real. City's Emergency Management Coordinator and Assistant Police Chief Randy Tuttle, and some of you may or may not even know that Randy is our Emergency Management Coordinator, and I don't know how many years he's been doing that, but quite a while, I guess, for the city. Did begin gearing up, as did all the other emergency personnel, as well as public works personnel, consistent with the city's emergency management plan. The plan's been around for quite a number of years as well, and I'm not sure when the last revision to that may have been. We conducted a department managers meeting on Tuesday, December 3rd, and public works managers meeting that same day. For purposes of keeping streets clear and safe, we divided the city into 4 quadrants, and this was on Tuesday before the ice storm hit Thursday night. And within Public Works, we have 4 separate divisions. Parks was given a quadrant, sanitation and traffic was given a quadrant, water and sewer was given a quadrant, and the streets division was given a quadrant. So they knew to be pre-positioned and prepared in advance and what they were responsible for. And that's handy because it not only makes them responsible for an area, but as calls begin to come in or we have specific issues, we in turn we know exactly who to call and who to send to that particular area. On Thursday, December the 5th, Public Works crews were alerted to be available to work extended hours. Fuel tanks were topped off, machinery and tools were checked on, additional tools were acquired, either purchased or rented or borrowed in some cases, left caps off so that to prevent freezing. A lot of little things that people have been through this sort of thing before think about. The emergency management personnel and I met Thursday afternoon at the police station to review final details and preparations. It was agreed at that point that the EEOC would be opened the following morning, which would be Friday morning beginning at 6 a.m. And this was not a fully activated EEOC. This was the Emergency Operations Center, EOC, not EEOC. That's personnel thing. I got too many E's in there. But and at that point, the big concern was that we would have icy roads. And so in advance, we stockpiled materials. We stockpiled de-icer. The Parks Department was going to de-ice all of our sidewalks around our public buildings, the library and City Hall and fire stations and EMS stations. We had the sand and the gravel, and we had all those kinds of things stockpiled. The good news was that roads did not get very icy here, but the obvious bad news was that I guess almost every tree in town got hurt to some extent. An awful lot of those trees fell out into streets, onto houses, including Sean's, and into power lines. And so we had a massive outage of electricity. Public Works employees on Thursday, because we knew by then it was going to be pretty bad, they were sent home at the end of the day, go home and eat supper and be back at work at 7 o'clock. So all of our Public Works people came back to work 7 in preparation. Our utility staff was also on alert. as you may or may not know, I'm not for sure how familiar some of you may be with operations of the water plant, the water treatment plant, but those are operated facilities and they're operated 24 hours a day. So there are people there all the time. Those folks were even told, hey, you know, the people that are relieving you may or may not be here because they may not be able to get to you, so have enough food and water and whatever you need to kind of live out here at the water plant or the sewer plant for as long as you need to. So we felt like we were as reasonably prepared as we could be for what was going to hit. And I know sometimes people don't see those preparations in advance, and they just assume we just woke up one morning and were surprised that that there was an ice storm. That wasn't the case at all. We had people, again, pre-positioned and working hard long before there was any ice anywhere in the city. Initial responses during the next few days, Friday through Monday. During the course of the night, again, we've got the bad tree damage. By 6 a.m. The next morning, most of our major roads were passable. And I'm certainly not going to say cleared because that didn't happen for quite a while. But I know when I left home that morning at 6 o'clock, somebody had to come get me because I had no electricity. I couldn't get my car out of my garage. And then he subsequently abandoned me, and that was Sean. But because a tree through his house seemed to be more important than giving me a ride. But already, because our guys had been working all night long, huge numbers of trees had been cut. Now, at that point, the priority was cut the trees and get them out of the road. That just means shove them over out of the way on the edge of the road. Sometimes they're still sticking out. They're ugly. They're unsightly. But the priority was just get the roads open. And that wasn't meant to be a convenience necessarily, but those were the roads that people like our fire chief needed to put apparatus on, our EMS department needed to use, and our police department needed to use. So it was a public safety thing. As well as people, of course, driving in the dark might hit a tree in the road or part of a tree in the road or limbs and so forth and cause damage to their vehicle or to themselves. So that was our only priority, get the streets safe as much as we can. Unfortunately, our number one complaint was, when's my electricity going to be turned on? Because that was most people's biggest immediate concern, and that's the one we don't have any control over at all. And most people understand that, but you'd be surprised at how many people call City Hall about their electricity. And some of them really get upset when we say we don't know, and we give them the phone number for the electric company, and they don't like that. And I understand they're frustrated, and I didn't like not having electricity for 4 days either at my house, and my wife sure didn't like it. But that's something we don't control, obviously, and when we can't really do anything about that. I don't know how we could. EOC was opened at 6 a.m. as planned. We had call answerers, as I call them, from Public Works. We had one from Public Works, one from Community Development. The fire chief, and at one point a deputy chief were in there. And at that point, we kind of were using the EOC as a call center. So that if you called and you said, hey, I got a whole bunch of trees down on such and such a street, that call was routed from dispatch directly into the EOC down the hall from dispatch. And in the case of Public Works, for the first couple hours, it was answered by a gentleman from the street department. Later on in the day, it was answered by Sally, sitting in the Public Works chair. Larry Wright answered a number of calls for the fire department. I was there for about 4 hours. I talked to the mayor a couple of times during that period. One of the big issues we had was lack of electricity in our utilities department. The water plant did not have electricity. The water intake did not have electricity. The sewer plant did not have electricity. And 15 of our 19 lift stations did not have electricity. The good news was when it came to utilities, by about 8 o'clock or a little before, we did get water back on at the water plant, but without additional water coming from the intake, that didn't necessarily do us a whole lot of good. As part of our preparation, Doug Harris and his folks had topped off all of our possible storage, so we had full tanks, so to speak, not just in our trucks and cars and all of our equipment, but we had full tanks on elevated storage and ground storage. So we had the maximum amount of water we could have in storage. Chief Tuttle worked with the state to get a couple of generators if we needed them, if Encore was not able to get the electricity back on at the water intake quickly enough. It did take all day, but about 4:10, 4:15, water was turned back on at the water intake at Lake Mays. Beginning at about noon, Doug or one of his people began to contact all of our large industries to let them know. Some of them were calling the EOC, some of them called me, visited with me. We let them know what our situation was. There were a lot of rumors there for a while, and rumors was one of the biggest things we had, which that's human nature. But that we were cutting off water, that we were out of water, that we had told the industries to cut back. That never happened. It didn't happen a little bit. It didn't happen 10%. We never even told anybody to conserve. When the water came back on, the intake came back on about 4:15 that Friday afternoon. We still had about 50% of our storage. We still could have supplied water all through the night without having to cut back. So none of our industries were affected by a lack of water. Doug's guys did just really an amazing job, and Doug did too. They were among those people who were there all night long and all day, day after day, until they got things done. His lift station people, supplemented by volunteers from the water plant and the sewer plant, did some kind of amazing things how they kept going. With the lift stations, kept those operational. We used a series of 9 different pumps, and then we go from place to place pumping out the wet wells. That's not a pleasant job in nice weather, because at a sewer lift station, you know what they're pumping. And when it's freezing cold, it's even worse. But they did that over and over, all night, all day, all night, all day, keeping those lift stations going. Sewer plant, wastewater plant, also got back up on Friday night. And then the other issue we had related to utilities that first day was that NextEra, the power plant that operates there close by and is a significant user of water, they did not have electricity. They were able to find a generator. We were trying to secure one for them through the state, but they found one fairly quickly, and we do have an electrician on staff, and we loaned them an electrician to help get that generator put up. Of course, the problem with that is, just like our water plant, if there's no water intake at Lake Mays, it doesn't do them any good to pump water that they don't have. So they did rig it, Doug and his folks did, so that they could take water out of Lake Crook instead of Lake Mays during the course of the day. NextEra stayed online and used about 4 million gallons out of Lake Crook. So again, we planned for that in advance. It worked extremely well. It's kind of nerve-wracking at the time, because you don't know exactly how quick Encore is going to work, or how quickly this is going to happen or that's going to happen. But it actually went really well in the end anyway. EMS ran some extra trucks. Fire personnel that got off work on Saturday or Friday morning at 7 were told not to go home. They were told to sleep at their stations. That didn't necessarily make them happy, because they wanted to go see what had happened at their house, keeping in mind that our employees have homes and families, and that we're sitting in the dark and the cold too. And in fact, I was talking to one of our people just 2 days ago, and he said, I haven't seen my house in the daytime since before the storm, because he had worked 14 days in a row. That's not uncommon for our people, and maybe it's because I was in the room, but when I was there, I never heard any of them griping or complaining. I get off the subject here, but I've really been amazed at the quality, the dedication of our folks, because they put aside, their homes and their families for a week or 2 or more to take care of our city and our citizens, and that's very noble and very noteworthy, and I appreciate Ms. Drake mentioning that. Small thing, we did delay opening City Hall until 10 o'clock. We talked about closing City Hall completely, but because the roads were not icy by 10 o'clock, they were in town anyway. They were reasonably passable as long as you went slow and watched out for the tree limbs and the workers. Didn't have any electricity at all at the library either Friday or Saturday, so it remained closed for 2 days. Let me see, I already talked about that. The lift stations, utilities at NextEra, sewer plant. We did that morning, Friday morning, because of the extent of the damage, we hired 2 local tree services right away. We knew that we needed to supplement our forces. We had everybody out there, but we did want to use additional forces. We wanted to hire local people if we could, and there were 2 people that have worked for us before that are reputable and did a good job for us in the past, and they were local, and so that's who we hired right away. They began working for us on Friday, so we didn't waste any time getting help cutting trees and getting them out of the streets. One of those companies is still doing work for us as of today, and probably will be for quite some time, helping our folks do some stuff. Early on, Friday, the very first day of the storm, we began getting reports, and it's always sad but never surprising, of price gouging. It's the same thing happens when you have a windstorm or a tornado with roofers, or a hailstorm with roofers. You get tree trimmers from Wisconsin and Bangor, Maine come down here, and they go see so-and-so, and they say, well, I'll do this for $700,000. And, and that 100-year-old oak tree you have in your yard, it looks like it only has 2 limbs broken, but we're professionals and you need to cut the entire tree down. And so, again, the very first day, that sort of thing began happening. We try to advise our employees, be on the watch for that, although unfortunately there's really nothing we can do about that other than fuss at people and give them an ugly look. And people like that don't usually care if you give them an ugly look or fuss at them, because they're not the type of people that are obviously motivated by what the rest of us are motivated by. Code enforcement CIP crews were pulled off of their normal duties. CIP folks, their job is to lay new water and sewer lines, small pieces. Of course, code enforcement crew is supposed to do abatements. Those were pulled off that first day and basically assigned as 2 additional crews for public works. So that supplemented our forces out in the field further. That ultimately included office staff from code enforcement as well. Also on Friday, we waived the inspections of the permits for electrical connects. We knew that would be a potential issue, or it would definitely be an issue, not a potential issue, but we knew it would be an issue that once electricity started coming back on, people would supposedly, they would have to come get a permit before the Encore, whoever turned it back on. But we knew that was also a ridiculous thing to put people through, so we waived that on Friday. We got word out to Encore and the LEC that morning that we were doing that. We got a couple of complaints on Monday, I think maybe even one on Tuesday, that in some cases they were being told by the electric company, oh, we can't connect you because you don't have a permit from the city yet. We traced those down to, well, I think one of them we traced down to bad information. The other 2 or 3 complaints were traced to out-of-town crews who were used to that process in other places where they worked. One was from North Carolina and one was from somewhere else, but out-of-town, out-of-state people who just hadn't gotten the word, because all these people they brought in were not necessarily Encore or certainly LEC employees. There were a lot of times there were contractors who had been brought in from all over the place, and you probably know that already. To clarify one thing, if your meter box was damaged, which happened in some cases, you did need to hire a professional electrician, a licensed electrician. It's not something that can just turn your lights back on with that problem. And so some people were delayed by that, but that's nothing that we have control over. You don't want to be having a damaged meter box and turning your lights on, because then your house burns down. EEOC call center, so to speak, again, as I call it, kind of started getting very few calls by the afternoon, so it was closed at 6 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Visited with the mayor, Ms. Drake, over the weekend. Also visited with the emergency management chiefs over the weekend. A disaster declaration was prepared by Chief Tuttle, executed by the mayor, I believe, on Sunday. The mayor also toured the city with police personnel. Tried to send emails to the council several times on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, but about half of y'all didn't have electricity, or maybe over half of you didn't have electricity, just like me, so that didn't really do any good. And that suddenly hit me Monday morning that, oh yeah, I sent a whole bunch of stuff out that y'all didn't get. So we changed our delivery method later on, and Janice took over delivering messages for me because I assumed she was reliable, more so than the electricity was anyway. We lost power at the east side of the EMS station and also at the east side elevated storage, but it was restored during the weekend. The one shelter was open at the Church of Christ, and it had a high population of 37. Following the weekend, on the morning of Monday, December the 9th, we conducted another managers meeting which reviewed what had been done, discussed damage to date, things we needed to do for the coming week, kind of made a plan for the week of December the 9th. Also that morning at 8:30, we opened a free drop-off site on Fitzhugh. This was consistent with the emergency management plan. It's the same site they had used back in 2000. Some of you were here, a lot of you were here for the the big ice storm back in 2000. I was not. That's the same site they used. A lot of people expected that, and that was in the emergency management plan. And I don't know how well it worked last time. I'm told it worked really well. But when I went by there about 3:30 Monday afternoon, it struck me as it was already really muddy. And the more people drove on it, it was just going to get worse and worse and worse. And so at that point, we made a decision to call an audible, so to speak, and move that. We already had a secondary site that we assumed we would use at some point anyway, and that was the site on Collegiate, back behind the Civic Center at the sports complex. And so we picked up and moved, and that caused a little bit of confusion because the first message was that, well, hey, we're over here at Fitzhugh, and eventually we're going to move, open up at a second location. Well, instead of having two locations, we closed Fitzhugh. Because the last thing I wanted to do was stand out there and tell people, drive in there, and then they get stuck in the mud. Plus, keep in mind that people have to unload their own trailers and their own trucks, and the last thing you want to do is have somebody have to jump out and they're knee-deep in mud because we told them to go in there. So we do have paved surfaces at the sports complex. And that was, in the end, I think a good change, although we had a couple of hours of confusion. We're still operating there, of course, and it's still going really well, and we don't have issues with all the mud. Received approximately 300 calls for fire service over the weekend, had 3 structural fires. Friday morning, we did have a firefighter who was injured. He received an electrical shock. He had numbness in 2 arms, was transported to the hospital. Last I heard, he had a numb thumb. Does he still have a numb thumb? Partially numb thumb. Heath Humphrey was one of the, in fact, he's a rookie firefighter. He's been here a year, and he was at your council meeting last month. He was one of the life-saving award winners. And then he's out there working again in bad weather and bad conditions and was injured. So good luck to Heath. We're really glad that he was not hurt any worse. It was a scary call to get down at the EOC that we have a fire out there and then we have a firefighter down. Not the kind of call you ever want to hear under any circumstance. EMS continued to operate an extra truck for a few days. Transfers to the DFW area were difficult because they did have really icy roads, and they didn't have quite as bad of trees, but their roads were really, really bad. So you had to go really slow or not go at all. And so transports were a bit of a problem. A lot of power lines were connected to tree limbs, and so I know when I went riding around on Monday, I think, well, there's what tree limb? Why didn't they cut that one? Because they cut that one, they didn't cut that one. And if you look, you'd say, oh, there's a wire connected to that. Our guys aren't prepared or trained to deal with that sort of thing, and so we just left those behind. And if you saw at some point during the week, a lot of times the Asplin trucks, the orange trucks with the grinder, they'd be working in tandem with the electric folks, which was a great way to do it because they could just do it all at one time, just right together. And sometimes there'd be a convoy of 4 or 5 of them. You'd see 3 white trucks and an orange truck working together. So it worked out great for them. It's not the sort of thing that we do. We actually started running garbage on Monday, mostly on major streets because the minor streets were still pretty bad. We did pick up some garbages on Monday. What we did not get on Monday for that route, we came back and picked up on Wednesday. Priority, of course, remained clearing streets, and especially for emergency vehicles, but also for solid waste trucks and other large equipment. Public Works crews were working 12-hour shifts that week from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., so they were going home at night, but they were working 12-hour days. Again, quite a lot more than what they normally have to work, but 6 to 6. Monday morning, we issued a code red because, again, a lot of folks don't have email, and when you don't have electricity, it doesn't do you good if you have email or not because you can't get to it. Issued a code red, letting people know about waiving the permits for the electrical inspections. Also that there was a work team from the Baptist Men's Association that was in town working. The Baptist Men's Association is a group, kind of like the Mormon Helping Hands, that has a lot of experience in dealing with these kinds of issues. They're very well organized and very well set up to handle these kinds of things. They worked out of East Paris Baptist Church, and they were not as large a group as the Mormon Helping Hands, but they were also very helpful to a number of folks in town. We added all that information as well to the city's website for folks who did still have internet and electricity. Met with the mayor, Ms. Drake, for about an hour on Monday. Visited with various other council members by phone or by email. Some of you still had email during the day on Monday. Also, beginning Monday afternoon, I began preparing the briefing sheet so that you got a daily report Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to give you at least a summary of what was going on in the different departments and the different things we were dealing with. And Janice, thank you, Janice, for getting those out, because I failed on the job Friday and Saturday because I wasn't thinking the whole thing through. Disaster declaration was re-executed by the mayor on Monday, sent to the state by Chief Tuttle. Damage was preliminarily estimated at $3.225 million in the paperwork that Assistant Chief Tuttle submitted. Commercial power was restored at the police station about 3 o'clock on Monday. Up until then, they had operated on generated power, which was a little sketchy at times. We had a dispatcher very concerned that his coffee pot didn't work, for example, but he did get his coffee, and all went well. Those are the kinds of things you don't like to have to test, your emergency generator and so forth. But it worked. It worked all through the weekend, and we never lost complete power. We were never without our phone system and so forth. Again, we had the call center that worked quite well on Friday throughout the day. Monday to night, we developed a 2-page list of commonly asked questions at Q&A that I think you got on Tuesday afternoon. We sent that out Tuesday morning to over 200 employees. We also sent it out to the media. Media was very helpful getting information out, and really appreciate them, because when it comes to this sort of a thing, we really have a common cause, and that's to let people know what's going on. Information is huge in a situation like this, because again, human nature is, if somebody doesn't know, sometimes they just make stuff up, because that's the way us humans are for whatever reason. I think the Q&A information helped a good bit for those that got it. It also helped us as city employees to make sure we were all sending out the same message. We had 1 or 2 glitches in there. One of them came from Bob's department, where somebody didn't know an answer and said something else that wasn't correct, and then it was repeated 4 or 5 times. So I sent another message to 200 some odd employees, and I said, if you don't know the answer to the question, the correct answer is, I don't know. Don't just come up with something, because it's easy to get in that situation where somebody asks you something, they expect you to know the answer, and you just kind of guess or what you've heard from somebody else. And we didn't have too much of that, but if every employee's got the same 2 pieces of paper with the same answers on it, it reduces that. And so I think that was very helpful to us. We also began to do some burning on Tuesday afternoon at the drop-off site on Collegiate. Our goal was to try to not have to go to a bunch of different places to confuse people. Our goal was to not have to go any place that was muddy. We came up with 4 or 5 different sites that we could use on private property and public property both, but almost all of them had the mud issue again. Ed Wayne Samus's folks had if you've been out to the drop-off site, they had it laid out so well. He had signs prepared a mile down the road giving you directions. He had stop signs. He had flagmen. He had everything. It was a great layout. You'd think we'd been operating a landfill out of there for 6 months instead of for just a few hours. It was extremely well organized, and those guys did a great job. Sally worked down there for quite a while. It's nice to see the recreation supervisor is helping at the temporary landfill, and that was the kind of thing we had over and over, where people were just helping out wherever they needed to be. Code enforcement officer was down there taking Sally's place today. That's not his job either, to help with sanitation, but there's not that many people in sanitation, especially now that they're back picking up garbage again 4 days a week. We did get a permit from the fire marshal. Fire marshal approves burning in town. So he did go out there and he did inspect the site. We also advised the TCEQ of what we were doing, and they were okay with us burning. So in a non-attainment area like the DFW area, you can't just go out and burn brush like that, but you can do that here. Fortunately, our air is still clean. 11 p.m. Tuesday night, the last of the lift station facilities was brought back into compliance. We did have 3 non-compliance discharges as a result of the lack of electricity at the lift stations that did need to be reported to TCEQ. We had no sewer backups into homes that were identified during the entire event, and that's frankly quite an accomplishment too. Without that kind of electricity, it would have been very easy for that to have happened. And talk about a tragedy. Your trees are down, you don't have any electricity, and now your sewer's backing up. So again, I really thank Doug's guys that are dragging pumps all over town to keep those lift stations going. Those were all back again by the end of the day on Tuesday night. Conducted another staff meeting Wednesday, December the 11th. Garbage collection was back to normal by Wednesday, the 11th, with very few exceptions. In those few streets that we couldn't get garbage trucks down, we actually sent small trucks down. We had the CIP crew and some other folks take smaller trucks, and they would go down these streets and they'd grab the garbage and they'd bring it to the guys on the garbage trucks or take it to be dumped themselves. And so we didn't just ignore those streets, but we took care of those streets as well. Traffic personnel began working on replacing and repairing signs on Wednesday. Thursday morning, the ARC shelter was finally closed. There had only been 2 people there on Wednesday, so it was closed after those 2 folks moved out. On Wednesday and again on Thursday, Chief Tuttle, Chief Hunley participated in a winter weather recovery conference with the Texas Department of Emergency Management. I don't think we got a whole lot of great information. One of the bad news things that we learned was that there's just not a whole lot of money out there for damage recovery. That's another rumor that's out there, that there's just billions of dollars going to come flooding into town from the federal government. I guess you just expect the federal government to throw money at things. But they're telling us they're not going to throw any money at us. So we will submit requests for information, for damages. The disaster declaration will hopefully help that, but it's not going to be huge sums of money. Unfortunately, most of the folks are going to be, private folks are going to be dependent on their insurance, and the city's budget's going to take a really big hit.
In the interest of time, can we shorten it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thursday morning we met, talking about a bunch of LDS volunteers, which we already talked about. Friday, the issue of the city's tree preservation ordinance arose, and I kind of already alluded to that. My initial reaction, which was probably the same as some of yours, was like, why would we enforce that ordinance? Well, the problem was we had people wanting to tell their customers, you got to cut down that 100-year-old tree because it's not going to make it, Mrs. Johnson. And so we were trying to put an end to that. That was our way of trying to stop some of the gouging. Chief Price and Chief Wright, rather. Chief Price. Chief Wright and others, I think, talked with the city attorney trying to figure out legal ways to do that. We closed the trail to Paris. And we did get the Bywaters Park and the plaza cleaned up. And on Saturday, we did have a dog parade in town, and our staff pulled off of what they were doing for that. We had the 239 folks from the LDS churches that were here on Saturday. Mayor talked about that already, and that was huge, a really great thing. We prepared a second drop-off site at Dragon Park. The value of the Dragon Park was it was right across the street from the other place, so that if the line got long, we could just say, go across the street. We didn't have to send them across town or to a whole different place. Now, the good news was things went so smoothly on Saturday and Sunday with the burn and with the number of people. We had fewer people than we expected. We thought would be flooded on the weekends. We didn't have to open Dragon Park. We still stand ready to do that if we have to at some point, because we don't want the lines to get huge and overly inconvenience people. A few of our folks were able to get their first day off in a couple of weeks over the weekend. Encore is back to normal staffing, I think, now. We began mulching at the compost site today. We're working 3 water leak emergencies and a huge sewer line failure on West Sherman. Park personnel began clearing Wade Park today. Over the weekend, we had a lot of new debris piles pop up, especially on corners, so there's a lot of line of sight issues. We realized we sent crews out today to try to knock all of those out, because the last thing you want to do, I keep saying the last thing you want to do is just have folks have a wreck because they can't see around a pile of limbs. In fact, our fire chief said that he had a hard time, and he almost got run over, and he's elderly and he doesn't have very good eyesight. But future activities, state survey teams will be in Paris the next few weeks. We don't know when yet. Traffic and other personnel are preparing for Tuesday night's raffle award, so business goes on as usual. Trying to clean up downtown. I left a staff meeting this morning, and they were sweeping the plaza, so we're doing those kinds of things too. We'll continue the drop-off site for an indefinite period of time. We're hoping to start closing it on Sundays to save overtime and to let our folks go home on Sundays. But we'll keep that open as long as we need to, because we just think that's a really big service that some of our neighboring cities are not offering, so that people can drop that off. Also got PJC women's softball starts playing out there in a few more weeks, and we don't want to have a trash pile in the parking lot when they start having games, but we'll do what we have to do. Curbside pickup, we didn't think we'd start for a few more weeks. We actually started today, pretty limited with small trucks, kind of, again, hodgepodge crews from different departments and equipment from other different departments, but we actually are doing that 2 or 3 weeks quicker than we thought. Parks is going to continue to be a low priority. Cleanups at some of our buildings, like the library, the police station, they'll be slow too. The trail to Paris is going to be really long getting it cleared because there's just huge numbers of trees. Of course, they kept breaking for days on the trail. We will conduct a post-action debriefing. In fact, we have one scheduled tentatively for July the 8th. And then very quickly,
I have the control here. Remember that.
And I've already talked about some of these, but lessons learned, and we'll talk about some of these again at that post-action report. But the information, the best way to handle rumors is to get good information out there. And it always, I hate the idea of cities using social networking, because maybe that's my age, to get information out. But if that's where people are talking about things, then and for example, the city does have a Facebook page. We just don't do too much with it. It's really the Facebook was generated because of Main Street. So Sherry Bedford uses it for announcements and so forth about Main Street. I think next time we probably need to use it for announcements. Again, not everybody's going to have Facebook or electricity, but next time it may not be an ice storm either. It could be some other disaster or problem. Probably we should not have had our compost pile, our compost site over here on off of, I never know the name of the street, but off the southwest side of town here. Seventh, it was too full. This is the slow time of year, so that's kind of the reason we don't do a whole lot of mulching in the winter, because people aren't bringing stuff and they're not picking up mulch in the wintertime. That's something we gear up for. So it was really unfortunate that site was full. We should not let that ever happen again.
Mr. Godwin, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
Yeah, enough. If anyone has any questions, I'll let them ask the questions. I will say only one thing. I think everybody tried very hard to do their best, and that is greatly appreciated. I would only like one change in it, and that is before a storm comes, or whenever we are anticipating a natural disaster or anything that we can at least anticipate, we should publicly announce a call number ahead of time, that this is the number to call, and this should not happen after the fact. It should happen before the fact, and that number should stay functional till such time that we declare that it's all clear.
Yeah, that was number 7.
Okay.
You cut me off.
That's fine. I let you talk for exactly 25 minutes at a stretch.
Way too long. I apologize.
Yes. All right. Mr. Wright.
No comment.
Mr. Jenkins.
No comment. Thank you.
Ms. Lancaster.
No comment.
Job well done, city employees.
Yeah, I do want to say thank you guys so much. You put your lives on hold for everybody else, and that just, we can't say thank you enough for that.
And the next time, I'm going to make sure I let John know what the word brief means.
Well, I was trying to not let Alan get a turn.
Yeah, anyway, very quickly, I think 2 things, and I think the mayor brought that out. Communication is so important. And y'all should have known this was going to be bad because it was named after me. So anything that's named after me, it's bad. It's bad. But communication was a huge thing, and miscommunication was a huge thing. So we need to just be very mindful of that. Another thing that I'd just like to see is us go back and look at our emergency plan, since it has been a while, and there may be some things that we need to update on that. I would just like to say again, thanks to all the city employees. John, you did respond after our meeting for Janice to get that information to us, and I appreciated that. So you did respond to some requests that the mayor and I made, and I appreciate that. Appreciate all the private citizens. It's like I told John in our meeting, Paris is a resilient community. We're not just a community, we're family, and we come together in times of need. And it was just wonderful to see us all come together and pull together. And I just appreciate all the hard work that citizens did and our city did.
Thank you.
And are still doing.
Item number 23, receive reports. Well, I'm sorry, we're not going there again. Item number 24, consider and approve future events for City Council, City staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081. I want to say one thing. In the first meeting in January, the people responsible for the state representative for the Obamacare is going to be here. They're going to describe what the Obamacare means to individuals and try to describe what all of this is. Also, after they have described it to the council, we are going to arrange meetings at the library for people to go on the internet and get themselves familiarized of what it is and what they have to do or what they don't have to do. So I would request that anyone who wants to know about healthcare should come in on the meeting in January, so that their questions can be answered, and we will do some workshops at the library. Eventually, it is a law and it will be a law, so people need to get familiarized with it. And so the purpose of that is, it's not for or against it, it's just so that people know exactly what they're dealing with. Other than that, I don't think, is there any?
Christmas parade Saturday.
Yes.
Anything else? Anyone has? So is this our last meeting for the year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So couple of things. If anyone has any suggestions for the next year, please bring them over so that we can change or correct. Again, thank you to all the residents, all the people who come regularly, and the people who look at us on the television and hear us, the media, and all the council members who have been a great assistance throughout the year, and all the city employees. I can't thank everyone enough for that, and really thank everyone for the hard work which was done on the 3 major projects this year, which is our bond program, Lake Crook, and the airport. With that, Mr. Frierson.
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.